last day of E3, guys. Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Slept poorly.
You slept poorly.
But I had a good time.
Were you like in bed thinking like more games tomorrow? I can't
Absolutely.
get to sleep.
Slept
More
poorly.
games, more
not
happiness,
poorly.
more
I had a good
views.
time.
Were you
I
like
did
in bed? I did that before the Nintendo conference. I like couldn't get to sleep. I was tossing and turning and like just waking up thinking about Pokemon.
And then major
Yikes.
disappointment.
And then nightmare.
Are you working on a protest right
For
now?
the rest of the time, nothing
what that is?
nightmares.
But we saw so many games that we loved, that we were inspired by, that we wish we could play right now. And unfortunately, that is not the case with most of these games here at E3. We're getting teasers, games that are still half year, full year, 2 years away. So I wanted to ask you guys, did you see any games throughout the week here at E3 that were like really popular, that people really seemed to express interest in? Okay, Adrian, you were on the social media desk, so I'm counting on you here. That you can give them a recommendation that, you know, if you're sitting at your computer, go home and download it right now and scratch that itch until the game you're looking for comes out.
Yeah, for sure. The big one that I want to point out is Jurassic World Evolution. And part of the reason is it's a growing game on Twitch right now. I mean, it's been in the top 5 consistently. And if you already played Planet Coaster, you have a taste of the game and a feel for the game itself. And Planet Coaster, I mean, it scratches that itch for wanting to do any kind of world building and setting it up. And the way they were describing it yesterday, to have like park chaos, and there's a little bit of competition between the different camps you can have. You know, the scientific camp and the feeders, and I like chaos, and I like breeding chaos.
So if you want to come out the gate ready to play Jurassic World Revolution,
You
then
can
you're
do that right
recommending
now.
playing. Oh, you can play Jurassic World Revolution right now? Oh, well, then go download it,
That's
you
what
maniacs!
that was the point I was trying to make. You can go get it right now.
I thought you were saying go play Coaster World, and I'm like, but there's no dinosaurs, Adrian.
Well, there's like fake animatronic ones you can get, but they're like, yeah.
Invest heavily in those. How about you, Kelly?
Ooh, we got to look at NeoCab yesterday, and one of the comparisons I made that the devs definitely agreed with was Papers, Please. It's not that expensive. It's on Steam. It's super funny, which maybe NeoCab didn't have that vibe, but like talking to people, kind of observing them, judging how you feel of it, and getting to interact with the player, or not the players, but the characters. Definitely would say check out Papers, Please if you're looking forward to NeoCab.
That's a cool recommendation. Very popular on Steam as well. So
There was that indie game that's coming out called Kids, but it's by the same developer of a very small indie title called Plug and Play. If you want a taste of what Kids might be like, and if you don't remember Kids, it's where you
the black and
move
white
the
one.
mouse around, it's black and white, and you push people into this
the
hole in the ground. But the same guy who did that also did Plug and Play, which is, I think it's $1 or $2, like $1 or $2 on Steam, and it's a wild, like, look into like sexuality and humanity and stuff like that, and it doesn't take very long. I think I played it in like 10 or 15 minutes, but it was $1 or $2 well spent.
That's it was interesting talking to you about those games too, because that's not an avenue I normally go down when I look for video games. And the artsy titles that make you feel and learn things about yourself are pretty darn cool.
Speaking of artsy, Ori. Definitely, you got to play Ori in the Blind Forest before you play Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Come on, dude. If you haven't played Ori and the Blind Forest yet, go play it now.
Right?
Come on.
Well, and Skull and Bones is coming out. I know we were watching the preview of that and getting really, really excited. And it's very different, of course, from Sea of Thieves. But if you want to get up on your pirate lingo, you want to learn what port and starboard are, you want to make sure that you got good communication with the people that you intend to go hit the high seas with, play Sea of Thieves, because they're also coming out with a bunch of new content.
That's right. Forsaken Sails?
Forsaken, what is it? Forsaken Isle and Cursed Sails.
There. One of those.
Nicely
Both of
done.
them are cool. I want to play them all. They got weekly events coming up, but a lot of exciting news out of E3. I hope you guys feel a little more empowered to start enjoying the gaming action right off the bat. But guys, we have a full day of coverage still. Anything you're excited for coming up?
2 Point Hospital.
2 Point Hospital.
2 Point Hospital. I'm not even on it, but I'm excited for it.
Kelly's gonna be watching in the wings. Adrian?
I mean, I'm trying to be different. It really is 2 Point Hospital, but just to break the mold. I mean, Octopath Traveler. I mean, it's Square Enix, which makes me happy, and it's not another Final Fantasy, so having that unique look and that detailed class system, like, I'm all about taking characters to 99 different job classes and just steamrolling.
Yep.
But 2 Point Hospital.
All right, well, we have so much to look forward to here at Twitch. Stay in your seats.
Jurassic World Evolution.
Hey there, Dragon Kobold. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks for stopping by. I'm alright, and yourself? And I started a little late, so hello everybody, greetings and salutations. I am Razim, and this is E3 2018. The last day of, E3. We've got the stage show today, going into more detail on the various games coming up. Now this is intriguing. Oh, Slay the Spire. Okay. I thought that was a new game. They really like these little... I guess they're commercials? This particular one bothers me because it's like... Somehow, this guy is good enough to just pull up that scope, shoot, and hit. How are they that good? How do I get that good? Yeah. Alright, so next up we've got Total War 3 Kingdoms. Just so you guys know, today I will be talking on voice. However, it will be more quiet during the actual events. So, I'll talk between though, because they've got enough time for me to do so. Trove Bomber Royale? Please tell me that's not the Trove that I'm thinking of. You know, the little itty bitty block game MMO thing that doesn't work that well.
Back. I'm joined now by DJ Tech Live
There
here
they go.
on Twitch, and we've got Al and James, and we're going to be talking about Total War 3 Kingdoms. This is a huge and beautiful game. So tell us where we sit right now with our 3 kingdoms, and why are we going to war?
Well, we're going to war because that's what the Three Kingdoms period is all about, basically. So it's set the sort of 2nd, 3rd centuries AD in ancient China, which was a period of massive turmoil. There was a huge tyrant, a puppet emperor, and a massive revolution, and then loads of factions, and then huge personalities vying for supremacy across the whole thing. So it kind of suits Total War down to a T, basically. So, and it's the first time we've done ancient China before in the Total War series. It's the first time we've gone to this particular period. So it's been a bit of a learning experience for us as well.
Nice. I'm a big fan of the series in general. Been around forever. I mean, for a long time in gaming. I mean, a lot of people like famous titles like Dynasty Wars, the tactical games. So we're going to see the famous Cao Cao, Liu Bei.
We are indeed. Yeah. So
Lu
we
Bu.
got Cao Cao approaching the city of ZRP, which is owned by Lu Bu. Yeah, finest warrior of the Three Kingdoms period. Yeah, he's hardcore. And yeah, we'll hopefully see Cao Cao win the day.
Well, we got some gameplay here today, and James, you're going to be playing for us. Can we still talk to you? Do you need
Can
total
indeed.
focus?
I can play and talk at the same time.
He's ambidextrous. Yeah, he's fine.
That's a lovely part about these games. You really get to dive into the strategy here. What tools are you giving us to conduct our large-scale warfare?
So, James is in command of Cao Cao, and he's got quite a varied army, and he'll be approaching the city. We can see Lu Bu's welcoming committee coming up to the city gates right now. These big arrow towers either side, they're dotted throughout the city. They're nice defensive points for Lu Bu's forces to kind of hide near, because it gives them that extra punch and protects them, from our forces as we're going in. But the idea is this siege has been underway for some time, so you'll see holes in the wall like this, and we're going to exploit those because we've brought some trebuchets with us, which is everybody's favourite
the
siege
superior
weapon, as
siege
we know.
weapon.
Yep. Apparently can fire 90 kilograms of weight over 300 meters.
I've heard that.
Yeah. It's a constant surprise to me. So yeah, we'll be throwing a lot of rocks at the wall basically with those guys. And yeah, we've got quite a varied force. We've got a load of heavy spearmen, we've got some archers, we've got some cavalry, and we'll have a wave of reinforcements coming in, about a third of the way in, hopefully. led by the Zhao Hu brothers, who are some more of these kind of legendary characters from the Three Kingdoms period. They were cousins of Cao Cao, and yeah, they'll be coming in with a ton of cavalry to help us smash through the defenses.
Seeing a couple generals here. Is that who's in the front line?
Yeah, that's right.
More than
there's-
one general?
There's Cao Cao himself. So he's
Cao
like
Cao.
the overall army commander. But yeah, the one thing we're doing in support of, this massive cast of kind of legendary heroes and characters. One of the changes we've made in battle is that you can bring multiple generals into battle with you, and each of those has their own retinue. Because
Very exciting.
each general type has access to his own sort of suite of recruitment stuff that he can recruit and that he supports and that suits his character class kind of thing. So you've got we've got a guardian character guy called Yue Jin he's brought these guys. These are heavy spear guard, and you can put them in this kind of tortoise formation. So they're kind of slow, plodding, methodically moving towards the walls, but they're well protected. They will get rains of arrows on them and very few of them will go down because they've just, they've locked their shields and tied up towards them.
So Total War games are known for your beautiful, beautiful epic battles. The camera control is a huge thing for me because I love zooming down in. How much camera control do we have in this Total War?
Oh, as much as any other. You've got that micro to macro kind of scale shift that we've always done. But it's worth getting in real close to stuff and seeing the detail, especially. Again, I just keep coming back to the characters because that's what this period is all about.
Right.
So Lu Bu here
Yes.
in his courtyard, he's resplendent in his armor, and he's on an epic mount. He's got a horse called Red Hair, who was it second, or was he the fastest horse of the Three Kingdoms period?
Second
Second
fastest. We kept getting corrected by the brand manager when we got it wrong.
Right, so second fastest horse.
Who's got the fastest?
Yeah, that's a good question. Do you know?
I actually don't know that one. I know about that horse is famous though.
Yeah. So these are kind of ancillary items almost for characters. So if we beat Lu Bu in a campaign game, in a battle in a campaign game, we'd have a chance of looting Red Hair, and maybe we could put Cao Cao on Red Hair. And you can only imagine how insulted Lu Bu would be by an action like that. So he's going to absolutely hate you if you do that, which is great.
You have a ton of factions. I know it's around 11 factions.
Yeah, that's right. 11 playable factions out of the box, and a real range. Each of those factions is basically a character, and a ton of other characters in his faction, and all the armies that they can kind of recruit and bring as well. So, we're approaching characters in a very, very different way to how we've ever done it before. We're designing them with more depth, with more features to them. Effectively, they'll have personalities of their own. They'll have their own motivations. They'll have their own drives. They'll have their own friends and rivals, which they'll build and break relationships on their own without you doing anything throughout the game. So if you've got two characters in a faction who are kind of working together well, they might start bonding, and then there'll be a sort of bond of brotherhood between them. And then, say, if you took those two guys into battle and one of them fell in battle, the other one, you might lose control of him. He might tear towards the enemy, berserk style, just trying to take down as many guys as he can. So
That's so cool.
Power of love.
yeah,
Right?
exactly,
Beautiful.
Three Kingdoms,
Yeah.
based off the novel.
And you illustrated some ways we're going to see those interactions there about characters that form bonds. Are we going to have verbal interactions? Will those be changing over time?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so based on the relationships, you'll see it in the battle here in a second, I'm sure, but the characters, they sort of spark conversation back and forth with each other throughout the course of a battle. So you'll see, rivals will insult each other, and friends will have a sort of healthy banter, and it all supports the idea that they've got relationships in the campaign games.
Well, you talked about the importance of being faithful to these characters that people have loved and adding depth to them. And as I understand it, there's actually two different game modes, two different ways to play, two different ways to remain faithful to the same characters. Can
That's
you tell us a
right,
little bit about the romance versus the classic?
Yeah, so our kind of default out of the box mode is romance mode, because a lot of what we're depicting was written about in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms in the 14th century, which is very much a romanticised history of events. Nice big charge.
Ah,
there.
it's just
These
cool
guys
looking.
are
Did you see the
great.
bodies? Oh,
Yeah, flying about the place. Yeah. So in that mode, your famous warriors like Lu Bu will be superhuman on the battlefield. They'll carve through. They'll be like a combine harvester going through a regular.
Yeah, the dramatic,
infantry.
powerful superhero that you want to feel.
And really kind of projecting that bravado and that power. So But if you switch to classic mode before you start a campaign, it'll be a much more kind of slightly more academic style of game, more like a traditional historical Total War game, where those characters will be like regular generals. They'll be regular human beings in battle. Xiaohu Brothers arrived.
Does the classical mode for the campaign relate entirely to the battle interactions, or is that also going to be part of like what you have to do to maintain your army? You're actually going to have different. Is it a different interface between the two modes?
No, not really. But there are ways in which it differs in the campaign side of the game as well. So we have in the third century the records of the Three Kingdoms was written, and this is a very kind of elbow patches, spectacles on the nose. This army fought this army at this place, and this many people were killed, and this much grain was taken from the city. You know, it's very much, you know,
The
the
little
data
Sun
of the
Tzu
time.
sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
middle class.
it's all very factual, and it wasn't until 14th century that the Romance of the Three Kingdoms came along and brought these guys to life in a way they'd never had been before. So one of the differences we have between the sort of classic mode and romance mode in the campaign game is that we build narrative events that happen at key periods in the game. So a certain thing happened in say 199 AD, then we can depict that. We'll have a little thing pop up and say, oh, you know, a great flood of this river plain happened and it washed the fields away and stuff like that. So you'll have events that'll happen according to factual history. But in the romance mode, those are more built around the narrative of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Okay.
So there'll be much more about, you know, epic rivalries between characters and that sort of stuff. So the feel of the game will be slightly different between the two of them. Yeah.
Cool. So I have one good question. For people that haven't able to get into the Total War series, how inviting is this to new players?
As inviting as we can make it, really. We're going to stage your initial approach in the game and teach you how to use the tools that you've got available to you.
Well, how are these new players going to get their hands on the game, and where can they follow you for more information?
Well, it's out in spring 2019, so next year. I haven't got an exact date yet. And what's the other question again?
Where can they follow you for more information?
Oh, Total War YouTube channel, our Total War Facebook, Total War Twitter, all our social media, basically.
Great. I want to watch James play some more, so I'll be checking you guys out on the internet later on. Awesome. But for now, you guys stay tuned, stay in your seats. We got lots more games coming from E3.
Yeah, the Total War games aren't exactly a series. It's rather complicated to fully understand how they work. I mean, they're a season, or they're a series, but they're not a series. It's just, they all share the same mechanics. Anyways, next up, we've got 2 Point Hospital, one game that I am very interested in for this next year. Mostly because I love tycoon games, and, well, we need more of them. 2 Point Hospital is made by the same developers as Theme Hospital. It's kind of a sequel, kind of a standalone game from what I understand. But we'll have more information in just a moment.
I was your rebel and you were my girl. It was us against the world.
come on and give us our next one already. I want to see this 2-point hospital more. They're taking too long.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Here I am, Ezekiel III, with my friend Okadrian, and we're sitting here with Gary and Mark from 2 Point Studios. How you guys doing?
Great. Really good, thanks. Really good.
Excellent, excellent. This is a game we've been, ever since I saw the little teaser of it, it looked like something I would really enjoy. We're going to be talking about 2 Point Hospital.
Indeed. Yeah.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about this game.
Okay, so it's essentially it's a game about designing and building initially your own hospital, and growing that into a healthcare empire as you kind of expand through 2 Point County. Lots of different regions in 2 Point County. There's cold regions, there's hot regions, and different kinds of people as well.
Yeah, and the people in our world aren't the norm, really. They're all very different, actually.
Right. If you saw the trailer, you saw one of the first ailments that I saw in the trailer was a guy who had a turtle head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we aren't. We've told people we're doctors, but we're not really. So we didn't know how
Getting away with it.
We didn't know how to actually cure people for real. So we made up all the illness.
There you go. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
if
made up all
Dr.
the
Dre
cures.
can get away with it,
Yeah,
I don't see why
exactly.
you can't either. You know. So where did the idea for this game come from?
Well, we made a game 21 years ago.
Yeah, we came out
Called
21
Theme
years.
Hospital, and we made a lot of games back in the sort of 80s and 90s, which were kind of simulation games,
Okay.
God games.
Well, we
And-
love making these kind of little people games where you're sort of managing a bit of it and trying to influence your customers, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, they're all about sort of exploiting little people for their cash, really.
You just said the whole video game industry.
Factual information.
So we can show, on the screen now. You can see that they've got a couple of people have arrived, and we're going to build a quick hospital. So hopefully we can show you some of these processes that we've come up
Yeah,
with.
so the patients are going to come in, see the receptionist. They're ill. They're going to see a doctor, and the doctor's hopefully going to be able to say, well, this is what's wrong with you, and this is the cure. But as the game goes on, the illnesses get more complicated. You're going to need to build diagnosis rooms. You're going to need to do
Someone's
research.
just slipped on their own
Oh,
vomit.
very nice.
If you build a floor and then I guess he forgot he did it,
And then fell over.
just
Yeah.
slipped in it.
Yeah, so you need to hire a janitor, keep the place clean. So you're trying to keep patients.
Where's it going?
happy.
Just sit down. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
Work it
that's the thing. You're reacting constantly to all these different people and what they're going through, and they could be going through some really quite nasty things.
I see the little aura around the plants, and I remember in the original Theme Hospital,
Yeah.
the plants were a way to reduce the amount of vomiting that took
Yeah,
place and also to
exactly.
make people happy. Does that
Exactly. Yeah.
carry over to this game as
Yeah,
well?
this
Yeah.
is an attractiveness overlay. You kind of see there's a horrible brown bit there where somebody's
Ill,
yeah,
so he's cleaning
feeling
that up.
ill
So
on the
these
floor.
modes are just to help you sort of see where you need to sort of make things a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
So
Is that a hedge mage outside?
Yeah.
yeah, well,
To get to the hospital?
so basically, there's a bunch of different. This is a real city called Croquembouche, and it's got lots of nice things like kiddie playgrounds and what have you. But if you want to develop on those and build a hospital and get rid of the kiddie playground, you can do that. It's quite twisted, really.
Yeah.
No,
so-
it's really cool how, like, I was wondering why you were building up the aesthetics of the hospital, not like the functionality. But the aesthetics of the hospital actually have sway on how good your hospital's doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, patients come in and they're going to wait around in queues and go from one diagnosis, hopefully eventually a cure. But you got to keep them happy. Drinks machines, food machines, lots of plants, keeping it nice, keeping it clean, bins emptied, keeping it warm or cool, depending on where you're based in the world.
Most hospitals are like shopping malls now, anyway.
Yeah,
You've got
that's
them.
true.
You know,
They are, yeah.
They're a way to exploit people for
Yeah.
cash. Even if you park up there, they're going to charge you for parking your car.
Yeah.
Now, if you're like an absolute symmetrical purist,
Oh,
how much
Gary
control
is.
do you have over object manipulation and lining up your benches? and
Yeah,
everything?
exactly.
Yeah,
So
in fact, Craig's having a little...
Craig's a bit crazy with his. So we let you rotate objects at any particular angle you want.
Yeah.
You can create room shapes as you please. They don't
What are
need
you
to be
doing? Oh my God!
Ruined.
Yes. Dirty,
That looks
man.
terrible.
And it's amazing. You get some people who really don't care about how they build their hospital. They're more about sort of exploiting the
Functionality,
sim,
yeah, just
the
keeping it
functionality of it.
streamlined
I'm
and
the player
efficient.
who wants my hospital to look
Yeah.
amazing.
Amen, man.
Sure. So, once the hospital gets built,
Yeah.
people come in
Yep.
with illnesses, sicknesses, maladies, whatever you want to call them. How did you come up with those? Do you just like have a brainstorming session?
It is. We don't write design documents, and
Okay.
we used to do, but we find it in the original games we used to make. We used to just sit around and riff ideas.
Yeah, 21 years ago, the teams were, there's like 4 or 5 people in the team.
You were the programmer, I was the artist.
Yeah, and
That
that's
was it,
that's
really.
kind of largely it. So you kind of go, oh, what do you think of this? And that's kind of a nice way of working. We've got an amazing team, and illnesses come up by dad jokes as we kind of
Yeah,
we kind of
if,
get labelled as.
if we laugh at it for a while, it doesn't get boring. It goes in.
Well, in fact, this one here, the guy's just come in. We've kind of shown this guy before. He's
Oh my God! Lightheadedness.
Yeah, lightheadedness. Well, it was originally called bulbous head, and it was because it's a
Either
bulb,
one.
and then we kind of thought, actually, lightheadedness, that's a better joke, and so.
Oh man, there's
yeah.
going to be so many groans, aren't there?
Yeah.
When you see like the
Yeah,
puns being made, oh, I bet. No, I mean, it kind of reminds me of Operation, like the water on the knee.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the,
yeah. Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah,
that
it
kind
is
of
that.
humor. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, we've tried to make all the characters very individual. I don't know if you noticed, but they're all very different looking. And they all have different personality traits as well. Specifically the staff. The staff can be really good at their job, but they could be quite grouchy, or they could be lazy, or they could be unhygienic, and you've got to manage their personalities. We really want you to care about them.
Or fire.
Well, that was the
Wow,
thing.
yeah.
That was the thing in the original. If you got, annoyed with your staff, you just fired them and got another one, right? We're going to try and make you care about the personalities of these, because you're going to get to know their little nuances.
To make.
You can still fire them, but we're going to try and make you not fire them.
And I think your investment in staff as well. So you're as they gain XP experience, that you can promote them. But that gives them a training slot, and then you decide how. Okay, they're going to specialize. They're going to be a psychiatrist or R&D person. So there's a bunch of things that you're going to hopefully be investing in a character.
They're your
and then
little
hopefully-
babies, and you're going to
Yeah.
take them from being fledgling professionals into hopefully sort of
Consultants
experts and consultants.
yeah.
Yeah.
Experts, yeah.
There's a lot of places and locations in this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were telling me backstage, I thought that was kind of cool, is that some of the illnesses and stuff correlate to the areas they're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got areas that are super hot and the climate is volatile, so you could have volcano eruptions. You
Yeah,
could
and
have-
again, you need to keep hot areas cool, otherwise diseases fester, you get epidemics.
So we're
spreading,
changing the
yeah.
gameplay all the time. You're not going to sort of play one hospital and think, I'm doing the same thing again.
Yeah.
In some hospitals, you get money from people who come in, and in other hospitals, they're state-run hospitals where you're funded, and you've got to meter out how you spend that money.
Yeah.
If you run out of cash, you're not able to do anything about it. So
Are you locked into, like, when you go to an area, like when you build a hospital in this area, it's state run and you don't have a choice?
Well, there is a state-run hospital, but
Okay.
there's a bunch of hospitals to choose from. And
Okay.
as you get, and we've got a kind of 3-star system for hospitals. When you get your first star, it's going to unlock other hospitals and other regions, so you can move around. But if you wanted-
Unlockables.
Yeah. So if you wanted to max out, get 3 stars, the challenge is going to be pretty heavy. But you're going to be able to move.
But if you don't
around.
like the state hospital,
Yeah.
you can leave it and move back onto the
Yeah,
ones
yeah.
where you can get cash off people for
Yeah.
being ill. It's up to you, really.
Yeah, in fact, go back to an earlier hospital. As you're kind
yeah.
of developing the game and doing research and development, you're getting better cures, etc. And then you're going to want to maybe go back to one of those earlier
Yeah, we
hospitals.
really wanted
It was
you to sort of
tough.
consider this not as a linear path, but a place you can return to.
Man, this is I'm sure this is a dream game for a lot of people, especially people who are maybe grew up with like Sims games and that kind of simulation games and that kind of thing.
hopefully.
It looks fantastic, and I want to say the thing that really makes it stand out is the sense of humor. It's very well done.
Yeah, it is.
The game is 2 Point Hospital. You can check it out. Fall release date 2018. Gary and Mark, thank you very much for showing your game. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
cheers.
Can't wait to get my hands on it.
Cheers.
And I'm going to
Looking forward
run
to it. Thank you very much.
a terrible hospital, and it's going to be glorious. So don't go away. We got more stuff coming to you right here from E3. Stick around.
2 Point Hospital will definitely be a day one game for me. If I can. Money is always a barrier to it, but I'm excited. I want to play it. I signed up for their beta, so... Next up, we've got F1 2018. I'm not sure what that is. They were not announced during the any of the major conferences that I noticed. F1 28, maybe it's a new flight simulator? Well, we'll find out here soon. Should be starting in about 2 minutes, so they tend to run a little late. My friend Pedro. Oh joy. That's an interesting name for a game.
Hey everybody, welcome back to E3. It's Rachel again. I'm joined once again by DJ Tech Live, and between us now is Lee. We're going to be talking about F1 2018. We've seen a couple of racing games, but this one is special because it's focused on Formula One.
Yeah.
And you guys, you are as close as can be to the real-life F1 2018 season, as I understand it.
It is the official F1 2018 season.
The
You know,
official.
all the cars, all the drivers, all the teams, 100%.
They just signed all that over to you, all the likenesses, the brands, the decked out
Oh
cars.
yeah. I mean, we scan all the driver heads as well, so they've realised correctly in game.
What's that process like, bringing the drivers in to participate in the video game building?
Thankfully it's not something I have to deal with, but it's a bit chaotic. Obviously they have really tight schedules, so trying to get that time to scan them with a device that essentially looks like
They
an
gotta
iron.
go fast.
Yeah.
Do they have to sit in the dome with all the lights on their heads?
No, we have a hand scanner.
Okay, just a hand scanner. They don't have the Obama wall. Well, it's so cool. You guys went through so much effort to exactly recreate the cars, the league this season. Tell me about the cars that we're going to be playing with.
Yeah, so obviously this year, the F1 2018 cars, they've added the Halo, so we've got the Halo safety system in the game.
Tell me, actually, can you break down what the Halo safety system means for players?
Yeah, so essentially it's to protect the driver's head in the incident of a wheel or an object coming up against the front of the car. But what we've done in the game is, if you play from a cockpit camera view, for example, you can actually disable the central column so it doesn't obscure your view in the game. We've also added in the energy recovery system this year, which is the harvesting of energy from the batteries, which augments the power of the engine. So the player can also control that as well.
Oh, so you're really doing a lot of the fine-tuning, toggling as you're driving. You've
Always,
made it as
yeah.
precise as possible.
Yeah.
Right, and what is the biggest difference when you set down to make a Formula One racing game compared to a lot of the other car and truck and boat games that we see out there?
I think the thing for us is, Formula One's a real world sport. It's a massive sport with lots of fans, lots of characters. The drivers are very well known. So that's what we try and get across in the game. It's not just about the on-track experience. It's about what you do away from the game, which is why this year we've added in the press element so that the players challenged to get challenged by the press. So it's like you've got to answer correctly. So you can either be really showy about what you say, or you can be a little bit more, well behaved. So
do the choices actually determine anything later on in the game?
Massively. So,
Oh, wow.
So the teams will want drivers of certain characters. They might want somebody who's very showmanship based, or very sportsman. Or it may be a case that you want to motivate one of your departments. So you get asked a question, and you may comment that the aero department could do a better job, and because of your current status in the team, that could motivate.
Yeah.
But if your status isn't particularly good in the team, you could demotivate because you've not earned the right to really, comment in that way.
So if you do something, let's say you say something off the wall and you're like, I'm just going to be like one of those guys, will your agency let you go and you'll be free to go to another one? Or
Yeah, so you can get sacked.
Wow.
But also as well, you can challenge your agent to get you a drive for another team, and that's when there's a negotiation period now. So we've got a negotiation window where you can say, well, okay, so I'm worth this much. You're offering me this. I want these perks. I want this driver status. I want this for my car. And it's a case of they might not actually think you deserve that. So you have to sort of negotiate for the best contract.
Wow, offering a lot more than just racing. That's
so
incredible.
Cool. Yeah. That's like life skills. We try and teach that, like arguing for ourselves and pay. So it's good to know that I can not only train up my Formula One driving, but also my negotiation and rate skills.
Yeah, we wanted the players to be able to sort of insert their character into the game. So you could come back. There's a question that somebody saw this morning, which is relating to how do you think your rookie season is going to go. And one of the answers was, people will talk about this in 50 years' time. It's a bit of arrogance.
I know exactly how I'm playing this campaign.
Yeah. I think that's
full confidence.
Yeah.
Looking at it, over time, everyone is expecting improved visuals. What steps have you taken to make it even more? Because it already looked great before.
Yeah. So this year, it's a lot of small things that came together to make essentially the perfect image. So you can see, just as we got on screen there, there's a very light distance fogging in the environment. That's not something that most people realise is around you at all time, that environmental effect. We've got new tech for the sky, for the clouds. We've also got the additional kick-up of the dust off the racing line.
Wow.
We've also got, as you'll see mainly in the replay cameras, the heat haze from the cars, heat haze on the track surface, that mirage effect that you see in a camera and a racetrack. It's all those things. It's lots of little things that come together to make a really stable and believable image.
Will we have seasons?
Yeah, so you can play up to 10 career seasons. And what's unique this year that we've never done before is there's a rule change that could come into effect throughout the career. So at the end of season 1, it may be that there's going to be a reset to the engine rules. If I don't protect some of my components, the next season I start with a weaker car. Or it could be that one of the other teams fails to protect their components. So you get a totally different order. So the teams that are at the top in one season might not be there at the start of the next season. And that's something really cool to look forward to seeing.
And what if they fail to protect their tires against, like, I don't know, a sharp knife or something, an off night? I don't have any options so I guess my question is, the character of my driver, I'm going to be answering press questions, I'm going to be navigating the campaign. How many other options do I encounter as my player character outside the car?
Yeah, so as well as sort of the R&D aspect as well, developing the car, you also have your rivalry. So obviously you have a rival, which is your teammate. Everybody in Formula One wants to beat their teammate, but you can also elect to select another rival. So it may be, again, if you're playing as somebody who's being particularly arrogant, you're like, well, I'm going to beat one of the top drivers in the sport. And if you do so, your reputation with your team and other teams will go up significantly. But if you lose to a driver who's considered not so strong, obviously your reputation's going to take a dive.
So all these factors, it's not just your choices in conversation, but literally everyone you choose to give a little side-eye to is going to change the course of your story.
Very much so. That's what we've always wanted to achieve, which is a player's story that the player basically creates themselves, and not just through obvious decisions, but through their character.
Awesome. So Lee, I want to get straight into it. This game is about cars. I know you probably can't go into the details, but how many cars and then are classic cars going to make a comeback?
So the classic cars that we had in the last game, they're back again this year.
Nice.
But we are going to add another selection of cars, which we'll be talking about after E3.
Awesome.
What's that process like? Do you have any insight into that? I know it's a big company and a lot of people do a lot of different things, but how do how do you build this relationship, and then how do you add on to this and innovate the F1 relationship? Because you have more things than the real F1 does.
Yeah. So I mean, for the actual, the official season itself, obviously we got all of the teams on board. We get to amazing access. We've got great relationship with all the guys at Formula One, so we get incredible technical insight into how a Formula One car works. But when it comes to the classics, we've got great relationships with a lot of companies that still own these cars, because a lot of them are in private collections, or they're actually run by racing teams who run them in classic events. And we get great access to those. And again, we 3D scan those cars as well.
Are you going into like Jay Leno's garage?
Do you know that would be a dream come true,
Right?
Yeah.
So how much involvement do the actual drivers have with the game? Do they get to choose, hey, I want to be a little bit more edgy this season or something like that?
Do you know what? No, none of the drivers have ever asked us to actually tweak their abilities in the game.
Wow.
But they do have.
There you go.
They do have input into how they think it feels. We'll get feedback from the drivers. You probably have seen recently we had Charles Leclerc playing the game at Monaco. So that was a really early play for 2018.
Right. Amazing.
I love that the drivers, and I've heard this a couple times with some of the racing games. How faithful are your representations of the tracks that they actually drive on? Because I've heard some drivers will sit and they'll play the game a bit just to get used to the angles, the curves.
Yeah, we've had many years where we've launched before certain tracks have even been on the calendar, and the drivers have actually learned the tracks through the game.
Wow.
And this
Spoilers! You better be paying attention.
And this year we've got 2 new tracks as well. So Hockenheim's making a comeback to the German Grand Prix, but totally new track to the series. We've got Paul Ricard, and that's really cool as well.
That's a lot of pressure, you know? If the drivers learn the track first, they can go out on it. Your game told me.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I like to think that they're out on like Twitch combing through the F1 2018 players. Like, oh man, Summit gave me all the tips for my next race.
Oh my goodness.
And that brings me up to another question about shareability of content and the community that exists around F1. Can you tell me a little bit about what the game community is like and where they live?
Oh, I mean, obviously Formula One's a very European-based sport these days. That's where the fans are, but it's growing at a massive rate. You look at where the races are moving to now. There's race in Texas, obviously.
I was going to say Texas.
Mexico. Yeah, so it's growing at a huge rate. In terms of the fans, I mean, they are the most passionate and knowledgeable fans you'll ever get. So, I mean, if I make a cock up here now, I will know about that for weeks to come. They'll be reminding me of it over and over again. But we've also, we've got a great bunch of community that we get involved on a regular basis. And at the moment, we're actually running a beta. And it's a fairly limited size beta. So
can our viewers get into your beta?
Unfortunately not. As I say, it's very limited in that we've got a selection that we can get really, really focused information and feedback from.
Well, if fans at home want to share your content, if they want to make you aware of how much they love your game, are you guys out there on Twitch watching?
Oh yeah, we watch everything. Our social team as well are on top of absolutely everything. I mean, I've been tested all morning to make sure that this is well publicised.
Excellent. What did they tell you? Did we miss anything? Do we get all the notes that they wanted you to go over?
I'll find out later if the PR goes like, you missed these beats.
Oh, well, I mean, there is so much exciting stuff in a racing game like this, especially, the very particular fans who stay with you, who give you feedback year after year. What have they been calling for, and what do you feel like you really answered for them with this game?
Oh, so I mean, last year and previous years, the classics were a big thing that people want. We hit that one. A really deep, rich career, we've hit that one. The press interactions, and having it really strong
Did they even
outcomes.
know to call for that, or did you guys innovate that and they realized, like, oh, this is fun?
It's actually something we touched upon in previous games back in 2010. But, we wanted to come back, bring it back stronger and do it differently and really make it really matter to the players, so what they think and what they do really does count. But also there's other areas as well which they've fed back on that they wanted more of. Like the multiplayer is growing year on year. We've been running our esports series. That's growing.
Tell me about your multiplayer in esports.
Please.
There you go. So last year we ran the official esports series with Formula One, and that had a world champion, the first world champion ever, Brendan Lee. Oh. This year we've already had the qualifying rounds.
Oh, you had Golden Boy out there casting and hosting that, I believe. Where was that out in Europe?
We did one. The grand final was in Abu Dhabi.
Yep. Oh no, it wasn't Golden Boy, but you should get him. He's great.
So we ran that last year. This year we've already had the qualifying rounds. We've had all the drivers come through, so they're in a pro draft now, and the teams will get to pick those drivers to race for them on their behalf.
How cool.
Yeah, and for the game, for people who play the game itself, we've also added in what we term in the super license, which is a driver ranking system. So if you play in ranked play, you'll get assessed for your skill and your cleanliness of how you race. So we can match-make you against players of similar skill levels, so everybody gets a better online experience.
Not just skill, but cleanliness of the race.
Yeah, you've got to. It's got to be etiquette as well as speed. I mean, there's no point being the fastest guy out there if you're not clean with your racing. You know, you
like that.
You want people to have similar experience,
Something
good
else.
experience.
Those slammy shortcuts and
Yeah,
trying to.
reputation matters, not just in the press. Well,
So what-
you've built an exciting game. I just want to give you a chance to tell us where we can find more information and when it's coming out and what platforms.
She
That
reads
was-
my mind.
That was it.
She
That was
reads my
I
mind.
got you.
Yeah, so the game's coming out on August 24th on Xbox One, PS4, and PC.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lee. You told
you.
us so much about the game. I hope
Awesome.
that your PR guys give you a pat on the back because it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Absolute
Thank you,
pleasure.
man.
Ladies and
Thank you.
gentlemen out there watching our E3 coverage here on Twitch, you're in for a treat. We got lots more coming. Don't go anywhere.
Incendiary out.
So, to me, honestly, all of these racing games seem the same to me. I'm sure that's not a very popular opinion, but it's how it is for me. I just... Am I supposed to be able to stop?
Jurassic World Evolution.
I want this game. I love these kinds of games.
It's out now.
But money is a problem.
PS4 and Xbox One.
Yay. More advertisements. Let's see, he's a little low on health. Yeah, they're definitely advertising a lot of Alienware products, period. I've definitely noticed that. I actually think they are. My laptop is actually an Alienware. I've really enjoyed it, and I actually had a problem recently where my one of my keys were just doing weird things. I was constantly thinking I was hitting 4 on my numpad. And I called up Alienware support because I didn't know what to do. I tried everything I could think of to fix it.
Welcome back, everybody.
Oh, hey, they're back.
Third and Ocadrian here again. Hope you're not sick of us yet because you got a lot more of us coming.
But yeah, I called them up. It was a software problem, not normally covered, but they went ahead and helped me anyways.
Mr. Silly Pants. No, it's Nigel from Devolver and Victor from Dead Toast.
That's right.
Is it just Dead Toast or is it Dead Toast Studio?
Dead Toast Entertainment.
Dead Toast Entertainment.
It's a really large.
Yeah,
company.
it's like I actually asked him. I was like, Dead Toast. So what's it? He's like, that's just me.
It's just me, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I really like it when I get developers of games who they're basically the only person like doing the work. So tell us a little bit. We're going to talk about a game called My Friend Pedro. First of all, who the hell is Pedro?
Well, Pedro is your little yellow friend, the banana, who is just, looking out for you and, showing you where to go in life. And
Also inciting violence.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, and that.
They're about to see the game. We can't
Yeah.
hide this any longer.
Yeah.
So,
It's a banana, a
so the
sentient banana
tagline
that
of the
incites
game,
violence.
the tagline of the game is blood, bullets, bananas.
Yeah.
I love it. So the Pedro is a banana.
Pedro is a banana. It's a sentient banana who, yeah.
A sentient banana.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Now, is that part of like? Will that be revealed as to why a banana?
That's a good question. I'm interested.
It's a great question, isn't it? The real answer is there's no deep thoughts behind it whatsoever. It's just it felt right.
That's a
I
shower
guess.
thought.
Yeah.
You know
yeah,
what?
it's-
Sentient banana.
Yeah.
No, I'd love to get you on like a psychologist's couch and just be like, so why a banana?
Yeah.
Like growing up, was that traumatizing thing? Like,
It was-
this banana keeps talking to me.
It's funny. Since I put the banana in the game, people have opened up to me with their banana stories. They'll be like,
What?
It's like, yeah, it's like different countries have different associations with bananas, and then some people are like, you know what? I have a really deep banana trauma. It's like I can't take the sound of eating banana. I can't.
That's like rating pending kind of talk, right?
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me a little bit, because I heard there's an interesting like history to this game.
Yeah. So it started quite a long time ago. Actually, over 10 years ago.
Okay.
I started making a like a Flash game.
Okay,
Like
okay.
it all started as a Flash game.
Yep.
But then, I worked on it for a year or something, and then I put it on ice. And then I started working at a company. And then once I left that company to go indie, I decided to pick up where I left off, and like finish it off and release it. So I did that. It got released as a Flash game at first in 2014.
Okay.
And it got quite popular. People liked it. They kept asking for more, and it sort of gave me the confidence to like put time and energy into make it a proper big game.
Sure. Now, when you say you released it as a Flash game, like, was it like a Newgrounds or like a something like a website
yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I released it's available on Newgrounds, Congregate,
Okay, cool.
those sort of things. And the beautiful
Hours
thing,
and hours spent on those sites just playing
Yeah.
wacky ass games.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And actually, the game does have roots in other Flash games.
Okay.
There was a game like, Madness Combat. I don't know if you ever played that. It was
I probably have.
was
Like,
a while ago.
there's hundreds of Flash games out
Yeah.
there that I've probably had my fingers on.
Yeah. So it's sort of like it's that feeling, I guess, sort of that sparked the initial idea, I think.
I like that the game makes you feel better about what you're doing by saying that these are drug smugglers.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like reminding you, you're the good guy here.
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
people.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
You're not just
totally
going on a
deserve
killing
it.
spree for
Yeah.
no reason. Like,
Actually, the place you start in the game, it's called Old Town, and it's basically where the sort of retired mobsters go that they thought they got away with like a lifetime of crime.
Oh, they thought.
But then they're sort of like they're getting what's coming to them, isn't it?
I like the answer to didn't they?
Then Pedro hits and it all goes to hell.
Yeah.
I'm just fascinated by that banana. It's like Cortana, like,
That's
Cortana
exactly what it
banana.
Yeah.
Or like Navi from Zing.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
just like pops in and tells you something except for
It's like an
usually-
aggressive Donnie Darko Cortana.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And it's very, very complimentary, which
Great job.
It's
Good
so
headshot.
nice. Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah. It's,
now, as far as like the level design and stuff like that, you actually you mentioned a previous job. You did level design for some other stuff, right?
Yeah. So my sort of like professional gaming career, game developer career started at Media Molecule.
Okay.
So I was working on Little Big Planet 1, 2, and Tearaway for the Vita. And I was like a level designer there.
So you got chops. Yeah, you got experience.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I would like to think so. Yeah, I spent 6 years of my life there, and every day.
And all that experience in Tearaway led to
It's
violent my friend Pedro.
you can only do cute stuff with
That's,
someone.
I understand. This is like that response, that like elastic response the other way.
Yeah.
How many like later rooms do you see where there are things maybe you didn't catch the first time that you could use in your approach to just causing massive destruction?
That's a great question. Yeah, so the things, like the game is quite linear, and you go through it, but there are sprinkles of stuff here and there that you sort of you could just run past, but then later on discover, for example, there's a frying pan. You'll probably see a little bit later that sort of once you discover it and you see like, oh, there was like I saw something like that before, and then you can go back and you see like the sort of ingredients that you can use to.
It's just like a multi-playthrough kind of thing. Like you run into a room, you stop, and you shoot a light and go, oh, I can use that.
That's
Next
exactly
playthrough,
it.
you start creating an orchestra of violence.
Yeah,
That's exactly it. He sent me the build, and it was I go through and I'm just shooting everything. Then I watched a video he submitted for the trailer, and I'm like, oh, you can go in there and jump kick a knife into a guy's head and then shoot off the frying pan. I'm like, I felt like such a loser, but that's how the discovery of like how you can go through these levels is really neat.
Yeah, thought that would be obvious.
I know.
That's not where everyone does.
I'm dumb. You got to keep in mind I'm also a very dumb person.
But you're a good-looking guy, so that
No, that's, see, I don't have that going for me either. It's not going
No,
well.
and when you said that was a great question, I wanted you to pick up the banana and pretend like that was a great question.
I am not giving Twitch chat any reason.
Can I keep that banana, by the way?
Tuck this in right here.
Yeah, dude, I get a banana.
Here it comes.
Excellent.
There you go.
Here it comes.
A banana in your shoulder.
So what are some of the like unlockables or
Jesus Christ.
items or whatever?
Yeah. So the game sort of starts you
Oh,
off
this
and
is
it
even
teaches
better. Here we
you
go.
like all the sort of moves and things you can do like straight away, and then it's sort of up to you. So it's rather than like you seeing a number going up, it's more like your skill as a player get better the more you get comfortable with the controls and things.
Okay.
But then as you progress through the game, the way the game gets interesting is like introduces new weapons and the like in the level design, like each.
Please continue.
Yeah, just a little friend.
I'm going to slowly decorate this set.
So yeah, the levels sort of like, you know, they give you new ingredients, like the frying pan we mentioned, and eventually you get like a skateboard, and then you know, other little things like, you know, swinging through windows and sort of ramps up in intensity, and then sometimes it goes a little bit sort of puzzle-light, so it's like tickle different parts of your brain. if
Oh,
you
okay,
like.
okay.
Yeah, so it's
You know, I remember watching the trailer during it was on during the Devolver conference, right?
Right, exactly.
The Devolver conference.
Right after the person was set on fire.
Exactly. But I saw the skateboard.
Right.
And I thought that you might go through the entire thing with a skateboard, but no, that's something you get later.
That is, yeah, that's like, it's actually sort of an optional thing.
Okay.
And it's that sort of mentality of like, you know, it's there for you if you like, or maybe you got a better idea how to approach things. Yeah, so it's like those things you'll find scattered throughout the level.
You know, I think about a game like The Incredible Hulk or Prototype, where there's a balance of the game's never overtly challenging. It's more or less to have fun. You're so
Yeah.
overpowered to the point where you can die, but it's not as likely if you're just
Yeah.
doing the right things. Is that
Yeah.
the same approach to this game?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 3 different difficulty modes.
Oh.
Like there's a harder one for the people. Some people crave like I need a challenge in order to do the cool stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the way I like to approach it is, you know, I don't want to punish you too much for trying to do cool things. Like, you know.
That's my favorite
Actually, you have the
laugh.
frying pan coming up here.
Oh yeah,
so,
here's the
you know,
all
this is the golden moment.
beloved frying pan.
So you kick it up and you shoot it, and you know.
Get the out of that's so cool.
You see how easy that was, man? That could have been you.
Yeah, it could have been me, but I wasn't. I'm just that guy playing it like Mega Man until
school
Victor taught me
quarterback.
how to do it.
It's, you know,
Oh, you can keep it with you? What?
Yeah, you can fit through the window.
Some people insist on bringing the frying pan all the way to the end, even though sometimes I make it extra difficult because you're not meant to bring it there. But if you get it
That's
past
me.
that point, yeah. Then
I'm trying to break the game.
some people even give the frying pan names. Like somebody gave
I'm
it.
not gonna do that.
Somebody named it Peter Pan.
Peter Pan.
This is why IHOP changed the name.
Man,
Things like this happening.
don't get me started on that. We have half an hour on that. I'm angry. I'm angry.
So tell me, I see we're dual wielding automatic machine guns, I guess. But what are there weapons that you can? I know that you can do environmental weapons, but are there other handheld weapons?
Yeah, so a nice one of my favorites is shotgun. And then
Of course.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
obviously. And the cool thing with the shotgun, if you're sort of close enough to an enemy, you'll blow the enemy into bits.
Makes sense.
And then you can use those bits as weapons, basically. So if you're
I think I saw that
Yeah.
too. Yeah, you blow them and you like kick the bit.
yeah,
Oh
so you
my.
like blow someone, the head flies into the air, and before the head lands, you can kick it into like a close by enemy to like knock them out. You know.
I picture you
Oh.
sitting like
Yes.
you're like 13 years old and you're like, what if I shot a guy with a shotgun and then his head blew apart, but then I took part of his head and I threw it at another guy?
That's the mentality.
Yeah,
actually.
it's great. No, when you said tickling my brain, it's exactly what this game does. It's like you feel like it looks like you do stuff and you feel like such a badass.
It's actually that's the key idea for me was I wanted to make the player feel like they're doing the
Oh
cool
my
stuff.
God, that's sick.
Oh yeah, so this is a sort of a boss level. So every once in a while in the game there'll be a level that breaks things up a bit. So you play a bit differently, and you know ramps up the intensity. So this is yeah.
You made a fanfic game. It is like the lunchroom conversation of like, what if you could like, what if you did this?
I think of it sort of like Bollywood action film.
There you go.
It's sort of like, like, do we need a reason? No, it looks cool, or like it sounds cool, so let's try it. You know.
There is one thing I really wanted to mention that I thought was super cool that you talked about. When you complete a level, what happens?
Right. Yeah. So at the end of each level, the game tries to figure out like one of the cooler moments, and then you can save that as a GIF or GIF. Yeah, sorry.
Burn it!
GIF, or you can like tweet it straight from the game. So that sort of gives you incentive to like you know, make cool moves and you know, can share with your friends and all that.
So it gives you like a replay of like your badassest moment in the game that or in the level.
Yes.
And then you can just tweet it out.
Yeah, rub it in your friends' faces.
That's, dude. I think you really nailed it with this game. It looks awesome. I can't wait to play it, man. When can we play it?
2019 on
2019.
PC and Switch.
PC and Switch, 2019. Don't release it until it's done because I really want this to be like the awesomest experience. Thank you so much for showing it off, man.
Thank you.
That game is called My Friend Pedro. Bananas. Where is that? That's the right camera. There it is. Don't go away. We got more bananas coming up. Banana.
Bum bum ba-da-dum. Banana Man. Yeah, it's definitely not my cup of tea as far as games go. Next up, we've got Phantom Doctrine. I will hide the game for a moment so I can see what else is coming up. Then Black Future 88, followed by Semblance. Phantom Doctrine, I know we saw that as a preview. Trying to think of what it was. We've been hit with so many games, it's like, okay, which one was this now? But yeah, My Friend Pedro, not for me. Though it is cool that they're releasing on the Switch. The Switch definitely needs more games available for it. And it seems like a game that would actually work very well on the Switch. At least with the double, all of those double attack gun, whatever you call those things. Just waiting for the next one to start any day now. Meanwhile, as you can see in the bottom right there, I am playing Pixel Piracy.
Welcome back, everybody. We're still live at E3 from the Twitch studio. I got my buddy Frank, DJ Tech Live is here, and I'm sitting with Casper and Blaze from Creative Forge Games.
That's right.
Is that right?
Hello.
Excellent. Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. We're going to be talking about a game called Phantom Doctrine.
Such a cool name. First of all, that's a really good name.
Thanks. Well, took us a while, as you may imagine.
Is that where the laugh was coming from?
Yeah.
Unless you just wake up and know your game's gonna be My Friend Pedro, which is a fantastic name.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a process. And we actually tried, because we're based in Warsaw, which is on the other side of the Iron Curtain. And we had our own perspective on the Cold War and what came to mind when we thought about it. But then Good Shepherd has, there are Americans in that team, and we've got PR teams in UK and in Australia that we cooperate with. So everyone had to weigh in, and we had a number of titles. And for some people, there were some really surprising, impressions, associations with certain titles. So we've got in our base in the game, we've got a facility called MK Ultra. Clearly based on the conspiracy and rumor and the experiments. The rumors are about the extent of the experiments. But to us, it was all mind control and the Black Ops and so on. But Australians were like, so it's just about like giving acid to people? Like, okay, no, so maybe that's not our title, but it was close.
Absolutely. For those who might not know like the base story of this game or where it takes place, where and when it takes place, can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, it's set in Cold War in '83, and you start as either a CIA or KGB or Mossad operative.
Okay.
And you discover that there's something more going on. There's a conspiracy that is driving the Cold War further and antagonizing East against the West, so you go rogue to find out what's going on.
Okay, so you can play different characters, then you're not locked in. Well, actually, why don't we just start from the characters? Like, who do you play?
All right, that's a good point. So you create your character, you customize it. Again, you can play as a man or woman. You have full visual customization as well, and a backstory. But what is set is your role in the organization you choose as your starting point. So in the CIA, you are like basically a wet work commando and a CIA assassin. Or if you choose KGB, you start as a spy hunter, usually hunting the CIA. But both in their own different ways, with their own handlers and colleagues, stumble into this global conspiracy, and they realize there's a bigger threat. So the game is most definitely not East versus West. It's more about there is someone else behind the scenes pulling the strings, and you're trying to dismantle that.
So that's instant replayability right there. You go either side, one to play through and then another one on the next one.
At some point, those are not completely fully different story
they
campaigns.
cross over eventually?
They do meet at some point, but you still are in touch with different handlers and contacts, and you do get more story as you play. Maybe Casper can tell you a little bit about the extended playthrough.
The thing is, this being a conspiracy story, when you finish the game and you think you got to the bottom of it, you unlock extended playthrough, where you get to the actual bottom of it, which has extended story and some additional missions and so on.
Wow.
So, yeah, the campaign is 30, 40 hours easily.
Excellent.
And then it's highly replayable. But it's not just the story, it's the maps will work differently, and there are a bunch of those, and you can, the code names of enemy agents are generated, the background skill sets, so it's not like you can play just from memory and you know what's going to happen. There are a lot of things that just surprise you at every step.
Yeah, I have a couple hundred hours in the game, and I cannot play it from memory. It is impossible.
Wow.
It's so much changing all the time.
Wow.
Now, can you talk about is there a leveling system or a upgrade skills tree or something like that?
Okay, so that's a huge topic right here. Do we have half an hour?
There are a couple different systems for character customization.
First of all, we don't have a class system because we figured that class systems usually boil down to certain builds of a class. You just go this ability, and you're basically done. So instead, we give the player some basic groundwork, some special skills, some background that the player builds on top of, and the basic set is random. So if you want to have your character perfect, to utilize this and have a synergy of the background and the trainings they get, every single character is built differently.
Okay.
So that's one thing. Another thing is that we didn't want to have a snowballing effect of failure, so that when you lose your best soldier or best agent, it doesn't really it doesn't push you to make a load.
Okay.
Again,
Yeah, it doesn't cripple all your future
doesn't
missions.
cripple you, because even the rookie agents can use the same weapons and the same armors and so on. They just have a more narrow array of options.
Okay.
Yeah? Another layer of character customization is the body engineering facility, where you can use the chemical compounds you find and discover and come up with to build like a super soldier. But
So
the
it
trick
is
is
pumping people full of drugs and different shady chemicals.
The trick is the compounds don't exactly work with each other freely. There's a lot of relationships between them. So
there are side effects.
Many
there are
hours you can put
mutual
into that.
exclusions
Yeah,
between the
exactly.
So are you spending time discovering the relationships between these?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a game in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I'm
that's
just saying
exactly the point.
It's kind of amazing that that's a part of the game. That's really cool.
And it's like totally skippable. Like one of the
Don't
big...
you dare skip it. Don't do it.
This is the
You
one-
see how much joy he's getting?
This is the one time you get to experiment and
Don't
pump
skip
people full of
that.
drugs.
all the time. No, it's a very sound philosophy to avoid forcing players into anything specific. And Phantom Doctrine finally is a game big enough for us to actually put that fully into effect. Because our last game, Hard West, that was definitely much a smaller indie game. And here we've got enough, I would say, flexibility that we can give players a lot of choice. They can experiment and do it differently, or they can just stick to one style if they like it. So you can. Most missions can be completed in stealth or in combat. You can do a lot of the investigating and connecting evidence by yourself, but if you don't want to, you can assign your agents to do it for you. And you can do all the side missions in the game and get as prepared as you want to, or you can follow the main story and just get from point to point. So whatever you like, the game will allow you to do it.
For example, instead of training your own agents, you can go on a mission and capture enemy agents and brainwash them to your side.
And they're already trained.
Okay, I like that idea. Speaking of player choice, you said you can go stealth or you can just go in.
Damn it, I was gonna ask that. Because you just you gloss over a big thing for gamers like me. It's like you can do stealth or
Right. I'm a big stealth player. Are there achievements for you completing the game only doing stealth?
No.
Okay.
But the reason for that is we're heavy on achievements, achievement horse basically, and
So
so we don't going forward with the play the way you want philosophy. We didn't want to force the player
to feel like
check
they
that out.
had to. Yeah, I got you.
Like they had to. So there are a lot of it was really tough to give the right balance to the incentives of going stealth and going combat, and it's pretty well balanced.
Another thing I read on there was next-gen turn-based. You want to go in a little bit of detail about that?
Well, it's a very nice-sounding bullet point, and if you'll notice, just a sort of preface, there is a lot in this game, and even when putting together a Steam page description or whatever this is from a fact sheet, it's if you start writing it all down, it's an essay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But what we meant by that, and it's referenced a little bit later, is, for example, the way our agents use movement and just dynamically leap over obstacles. They use cover in specific ways. If we encourage agents, even though they're not like super soldiers in powered armor, they can still jump from the first floor or from the roof or climb low obstacles. But also, we've got things that break the mold of the turn-based one move and the other move, like the breach ability, which you can tell a little bit about.
That's a game in itself again.
Oh.
So the thing is, imagine a situation, you're a big stealth player, right?
Yeah,
so you can take down enemies silently by hand-to-hand combat. So imagine you have a situation where you have 2 or 3 guards looking at each other. So how are you gonna solve that? So you can order your agents to breach the room with silenced weapons, and they go in all at once and shoot everyone. And if they manage to kill all the guards, there will be no alarm.
Yeah, so
And
this basically happens simultaneously. So it's a real-time element, special ability within your turn. So all three or all two of your agents or four, depending on who you have available, how many entrances there are, go in at the same time and they shoot at the same time. So one thing that happens is you have a chance of taking out the enemy at the same time. But the other cool thing is that if they are on Overwatch, the damage is spread between your agents. Because normally, you've got two guards in a turn-based game, two guards inside the room, and they're on Overwatch. You go in, your first agent can get 2 shots and die, and then the other guy goes in and maybe he'll make it.
Right.
And in this case, all go in at the same time, so the damage is spread,
out,
and no one ideally dies except the enemy, of course.
Okay, it's like a good tactical point.
Now, I'm gonna shift gears here, and I was just like, it had my attention. The conspiracy, the investigation board. That thing looks deep and amazing. Tell me about that.
Okay, so as you progress through the campaign, you go on tactical missions, you find documents, secret classified documents, left behind by conspiracy agents because they didn't have like email,
Right,
so
of
they
course.
did paperwork, but they don't really mention actual names and street addresses because.
No, I saw the title of one of those telegrams. It says, "My faithful dog is a fraud" or something like that. So it's all code.
Yeah, exactly. So they use code names and aliases. So you put those pieces of intel on the board and you cross-reference them to connect the dots and find out who the key document mentions and what it's all about. And that, when you solve a secret file, that reveals secrets, which are an actual gameplay currency. Like secrets can be the fact that one of your agents was brainwashed, or a new chemical compound, or additional intel, or a lot of
Or
stuff
they
like
can
that.
actually open up a new mission, new
Yep.
location, new target. So there are even main missions or side missions within the conspiracy board.
How do you pick up pieces of the conspiracy board?
On missions as loot from...
loot? Okay.
I was going to say loot boxes. No, from safes.
Good.
I know.
We do have 3 loot boxes, so.
Yeah, exactly. Safes, cabinets, but also you recruit informers who will send you some information, or you can even interrogate enemies for intel for the board.
It's like minigame after minigame after minigame after minigame.
Yeah, and how much you do of each is mostly up to you.
That's amazing. So much to offer.
Oh, I'm just. It's such a involved game. It's intricate. It's complex. I cannot wait, man. We ran out of time. I could talk about this for. I'm sure you can talk about it for hours.
I know the problem. Yeah.
It looks so cool. Like,
Thank you.
do not I saw it on Steam and I was like, this looks pretty all right. And then I saw like all of the stuff that you can get into, and it really opened my eyes. So thank you very much for showing it to me.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you so much.
The game
Thanks
is
for having us.
Thank you.
Phantom Doctrine.
Correct.
And it is by Creative Forge Games. It will be published by Good Shepherd Entertainment. Coming to you summer 2018 on PC, PS4, and Xbox.
That's right.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, we got more stuff. Stay right there.
Alright, so what I mean by tactical controls, Rivas, is very simply a tactical game. I love tactical games. Whether you want to call them... I've heard them called tactical RPGs, tactical shooters, all those different things. Whatever you want to call them, I absolutely love them. Well, it's the two main franchises that a lot of people know about are Fire Emblem and XCOM. And, well, those of you who were watching the stream during the Nintendo press conference when they announced the new Fire Emblem coming, you know exactly how excited I get over Fire Emblem. But yeah, it's just that simple It's the idea of a tactical game itself. I enjoy the turn-based strategy, coming up with, going in and, conquering. This one especially I'm interested in, the Phantom Doctrine, because of the fact that they apparently... Oh, they're back.
E3, and I've got Hello Kelly Link.
I'll be on
joining me today. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm so excited to look at this game.
Me too. We've got Don here from Super Scary Snakes.
Hey guys.
And we're going to be talking about a game called Black Future 88, which sounds as good. It sounds kind of like it is. Tell us a little bit about it, man.
Sure. So Black Future 88 is it's a synth punk action roguelike where you climb a tower in an alternate version of 1988 after a nuclear catastrophe, basically on a revenge/suicide mission. You only have 18 minutes to live before your heart explodes, just like regular 1988. Of course. It's extremely juicy. It's very visceral. There are five playable characters. You can unlock some more. There's co-op. It has an all-analog synth-punk soundtrack. Let's see. There's a lot of weapons, a lot of buffs. A lot of action.
So by buffs, is that just for your weapon buffs, or is there like health buffs as well?
No, so there's, you basically consume curses and drugs and buffs, and they usually give you something really, really powerful, like maybe a new ability, or they'll give you some kind of interesting side effect. But a lot of them, especially the curses and the drugs, they have really strong downsides. So they might say, like, now you can carry a third weapon, but if you run out of ammo, now your weapons break.
Okay. So it's like a really good bonus to have to reflect the bad with it.
Yeah. So instead of making the game harder as the player goes along, we kind of make it more sophisticated, and it's up to them to really master the content and to combine good synergies and avoid bad synergies.
When you say curses, because I know what drugs are.
Yeah.
But curses, what's a curse?
There's kind of this underlying occult theme in the game. The tower itself is actually alive. It's called Skymelt. So you're going in there to ostensibly destroy the tower and kill the architect of the tower. But it turns out as you play that you learn things are not always what they seem, and Skymelt itself is really in more control than you had originally known. So you can interact with a lot of stuff that's cursed, and as you do it, you'll get more cursed enemies that appear, and they're much harder. They're kind of elite versions. But cursed items and cursed buffs tend to be really powerful.
All right.
What we just saw there was a teleporter where you could go into any room for that zone.
Yeah. So since it's a procedural world and you only have 18 minutes to live.
That's something important to remember, procedurally generated.
Yeah, it's random. It's really unique every time you play it. So we make sure that you're not penalized for like, hey, I want to go back and talk to that shopkeeper, or I got to get some drugs right into my neck. Just so that you're not penalized for, and that you have options before you go run into the boss and die.
Dude, I mean, it looks fantastic. It looks like an 80s wet dream. It really does. I just want to mention one of the first things. I went to the website and I looked at getting information. The first thing on the website, it says guns, guns, guns. And then you scroll down a little bit and it says synth punk as fuck. And that's like the description of the game on the actual website.
I'd say that's accurate. I stand by that assertion.
Okay, so guns, guns, guns. What do you mean guns, guns, guns?
So
is there lots of guns, guns?
There are. The build that we're showing at E3 has 70 really unique weapons. And some of them are really complex. There's a lot of kind of interactions. There's the idea that there's gas in the world that's sometimes explosive, but if you combine it with something hot, it'll explode.
Is that the gas that we're looking at right now?
No, that's just cool smoke.
Okay, cool.
But
it is very cool.
so you might have a weapon like the vapor smelter that is hot. It's like this massive beam of hatred or power, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
But actually emits this explosive gas near you. So if you actually use it on an enemy too close to you, it'll detonate the gas that it emits and it'll kill you. Because explosions are really deadly to players in the game.
Now, how do you do you just find them throughout the playing of the game? Like when you play it over and over again, do you unlock stuff, or can you find everything in one go?
Great question. So you start out when you install the game. It's beatable, it's enjoyable, it's fun. But as you die, you earn basically experience just for staying alive for a second, for shooting a gun, for finding a secret, for killing an enemy. every time you earn XP, you level up and you unlock more and more content.
Okay,
And that content tends to be, it gets more and more sophisticated, more advanced as you go along. It's a lot more giftable, in the late stages.
But it's still the standard 18 minutes, try to like go on a suicide mission.
Yeah, and you never start the game more powerful. That time never changes, so it's 18 minutes.
How do the characters differ beyond looks?
Sure, so they have really unique playstyles. So they're all really inspired by kind of my late 80s icons, like Suzy Sue and Adam Ant and Grace Jones and stuff. So Sue, she's a character spelled like Suzy Sue. She's addicted to drugs and she has very low health. So she can also throw weapons. She's a really high-risk, high-reward player. She can be offered a buff that lets her, if she catches a weapon just before it drops from an enemy, or if it's a weapon that she just threw, she actually goes into the slowdown and she can just light things up.
So what you just said there, buffs are unique to the character?
Some are.
Okay,
Some
cool.
are. So each character has a lot of different playstyles that might be more advantageous for them. And others, they're just a little bit more durable. Some are a lot less durable.
Can anyone use two guns?
Oh, sorry.
No,
they can all carry two guns, but
okay.
everyone has that same ability. They all start with two weapons.
Okay, cool.
This guy's like the Ninja Gaiden guy. Like he's got the Knight Stiletto, and he's like.
Yeah. Well, he starts with a shotgun. He starts with a little bit more health. He can,
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he can drop to the ground really fast, and
Okay.
it's a really good mobility option. And if he might be offered a buff that lets him turn that like quick ground drop into do just a big area attack on the ground.
Okay.
But he has to use it from high enough. So the game really is all about combining really cool things with really nasty trade-offs.
Now, is there like like bosses for like every so often, or is there bosses at all, or like?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So it's a procedural tower. It's built from 4 discrete zones. It's kind of like a layer cake or a parfait or a Neapolitan, an onion, an ogre.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's layered, and the layers make sense. So we see the arboretum a lot. It's this living tower, but it's meant to support life.
Sure.
Like kind of like the giant buildings in Judge Dredd, kind of their own self-contained ecosystems. So there'll be a district warden at the top of each zone.
Okay.
Then there's also a secret zone underneath it where the dirty drug runoff water goes, and you can get addicted to drugs really easily down there.
Can you get into the secret zone at the bottom like easily, or is that something that you kind of have to work towards?
You unlock it eventually. You unlock it pretty soon, pretty early into when you get the game. And it's a hard path up the tower. It offers a shortcut, and there's like really sick things that happen down there, like really cool things that are accessible to you earlier in the game. But you're basically taking a harder path up the tower, and then you go into the Murdervator, which is a elevator. Hey, this is serious. It's a
Murdervator. I love it, man.
It's an elevator the size of a room, and you basically fight a boss while going up the tower very, very rapidly.
Oh, is this one of the wardens?
Yeah, that's Prophet 5. All the bosses are named after classic synthesizers. So that's the Prophet 5, near and dear to my heart.
Excellent.
This really seems like a passion project for you.
A bit.
Was this something that you've been like working really hard towards to make sure that it's just right, because this is something that is so close to you?
Yeah, actually, I started it. I wanted to make an action roguelike, but I just didn't want to do a top-down one because everyone else does that. So make it a platformer, and I also wanted to make a music soundtrack for a game. So they were both really bad when they started, and they both kind of got better and kind of met in the middle, and they both kind of informed each other. And really, the soundtrack inspired the game and the aesthetic and the gameplay.
And you made it?
Yeah, with my band.
Wow, that's really cool.
Thanks.
Your band Tremor Low?
That's right.
Is that right?
Yep.
Dude, I've been listening to it. This style of music. It's making a huge comeback this season. I'm loving all the different like synth wave.
We're calling our style kind of synth punk.
Synth punk. There you go. I love all that stuff, like the Carpenter Brutes and all that kind of stuff that's just blowing through the scene. And I'm listening to it as much as I can. It sounds dope. It's so good.
It's really fun too.
Yeah.
It's so fun to work on.
Well, it makes you. I mean, it's like the next. It's like metal was back in the day. It's like you just want to get in there.
It's exciting and new, and it's a way to like really explore new sound areas.
Now, talk to me about the co-op about this a little bit.
So this game, I took a really hard look at a lot of co-op in games. I wanted to do something really unique for co-op in this game. So there's a lot of stuff that can only happen in co-op. So if you die with your buddy, sometimes you can give them a transfusion. And if you're addicted to drugs and you give them a transfusion, then they get addicted to drugs.
That's so awesome.
All the drugs in 1980 are kind of gasoline-based, so they're combustible, and one of your little health bars will get inflamed. And if you take damage to that little health token, you'll take a bunch of damage and probably die from it. Another cool thing that happens in co-op is if your buddy dies and you don't have a transfusion kit, you can download them. You're just given an option to download them. What does that mean? If you come across a repairable drone later, you can actually upload them into the drone, and then they can play as the only flying character in the whole game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome. So you kind
really
of want to
cool.
die, maybe, possibly?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Can you do it on purpose?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow,
And then drones have a problem where they suffer from a lot of weapon knockback. So all the guns use a ton of knockback, but drones suffer from more, but they can fly, so that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When do we get it?
This year, we've announced for PCs. Obviously, we wanted to bring it to every man, dog, woman, cat, and child.
Of course.
And turtle.
Sure.
Definitely the turtles
Yeah,
on the
turtles.
planet.
And banana.
Yeah, we've only announced for PCs. I think there are going to be some more announcements, though.
Okay. Have you announced like a date?
Not a date.
Not yet. So sometime in 2018?
Yeah. This year.
Okay. Sometime in 2018. You can actually take a look at it on their website. What was the name of the?
Blackfuture88.com.
Blackfuture88.com, which I went to. You can also check it out on Steam. You can look at it. If
You can
like.
wishlist it.
Yes, absolutely.
Please do. I'd really appreciate that.
So it's coming out 2018. So thank you so very much.
Thanks so much, Steve.
I can't wait to play it, man. It's right up my alley for sure. We got more stuff right here live from E3 at the Twitch studio. Stick around.
friends and family, and welcome back to E3 on Twitch. I'm Anna Prosser Robinson, joined by Kira Karelia, and we have our friend Ben here to talk to us about Semblance. Ben came up to us and he said, I have a good pitch for you. Are you ready? And I am ready. What is Semblance, Ben? Tell us all about
it's a
it.
good pitch, but here we go.
I mean, I believe in you.
I mean, so Semblance is the first real platformer.
Whoa!
I hate to be the harbinger of bad news, but everyone else in the genre up until now has been lying to you.
Wow.
Because technically, they've just been running and jumping on platformers.
Okay.
But linguistically, technically, theoretically, Semblance is the first game where you can actually morph, shift, and change the platforms themselves.
Gotcha.
So linguistically, it's the first game where platforming is really the verb.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I buy this actually, because
That's
technically
right.
you are not platforming.
Exactly. Don't call it a
You
shooter.
are jumping on a platform.
Exactly.
Oh.
It's obviously an extremely ridiculous pitch, but it's a platformer, so you have to go hard
Yeah,
to
totally.
stand out. You got to do it.
Well, tell people a little bit about Semblance and why you're talking about changing the platforms. What do you do in Semblance?
Yeah, so you exist in this world where the property of hardness doesn't exist. Everything is soft, squishy, and bouncy, and you're literally a piece of the ground that's been brought to life because this infection of hard crystalline materials began to seep into the world and infect the little cute critters. So you're sort of jumping around as this adorable blob and collecting these essences that bring the world back to softness. So here you can start to see the deforming terrain really early on, just like something's in the way and you can deform it. If you touch the green spiky stuff, you die.
Those are the hard crystals that you were
Yeah,
talking about.
exactly. This is just kind of the tutorial where the player's getting their only two abilities in the game, which also happen to be their eyes, which is quite adorable.
Aw.
And yeah, we also have this, because we're making a puzzle game, we wanted to make a narrative that the player has to piece together as well. So spread throughout the game, you'll see sort of cave paintings that sort of vaguely allude to the plot in the game. And players can engage with that if they want to, but they also don't really have to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You mentioned linguistically. I'm curious what Semblance refers to linguistically here.
Yeah, it's a pretty terrible name. Our Google alerts are very useful. A lot of sports writers use the word semblance, apparently. I know a lot about American sports thanks to our Google alerts for this game. A lot of basketball players
I
like
would
the
not have
semblance of
assumed
defense. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, semblance refers to kind of where the game is situated in the genre. You think you have a semblance of understanding of how platformers work. You just run and jump. But this game kind of changes what you think about how platforms work. And also refers to the way the story is as well. Like you think you understand what's happening in the story, but there's kind of not what's actually happening. And actually all the puzzles in the game are accessible from the beginning of the game. Like you can kind of see here, there's sort of this little puzzle there, but that's just a conceptual gate. If you understand how to get past that, you can access pretty much every puzzle in the game. Because we kind of didn't like puzzle games where if you get stuck, that's it, basically, the game's over, because you never figure it out. I think a lot of players get stuck like that.
That's me on my Twitch stream. Whenever I play a game with a puzzle and I get stuck, I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom now, and then I'm on my phone, looking for a tutorial. But with this one, if you don't understand the puzzle, you can just skip it and come back to it later.
Exactly.
I like that.
And here we're starting to see some more interesting examples of what the deforming terrain can do. Like if stuff's anchored to the terrain, what happens? You'll see it starts to bend. You have lasers, and you try to jump over them.
Ooh, just made it. That was a scary
I
jump.
think you'll probably die.
Oh no!
And then you realize you have to sort of put a platform between the two lasers to land on.
Oh.
So this game kind of has these solution ranges to puzzles, where it's not just one single solution. You have a bunch of tiny little varying solutions. So we find that players, it's kind of like players collaborating with the designers on level design, because they're deciding how hard or how easy they want certain solutions to be, basically.
So this little guy, he's called Squish.
Squish, yeah.
That is so cute. And he was originally part of this world.
Yes, he was a piece of the ground that's been brought to life. In this world, there's kind of these three sort of overlord trees that sort of affect and influence the environment. And this kind of starts to get into the plot, but basically, bad stuff happened and they needed someone that wasn't a tree to help out.
I love that. It's got a deceptively interesting plot. You
Yeah.
look at this and you think, oh, you just bounce around and move some platforms, but there's actually a really interesting story involved in this.
Yeah.
And I really like that.
Yeah.
So the circles up in the upper left hand are representing completed puzzles, right?
Yes, exactly. So those are all the collectibles in a level that you need to collect, and you'll see when you come out, the collectibles sort of disinfect the level tree. So that gives you a bit of feedback about how you're progressing through the game, because you're trying to, disinfect the world from this hard crystalline material.
So I could potentially do an entire level without even achieving any of the puzzles?
Yep, exactly. Isn't that perfect? Doesn't sound great.
Okay, interesting. And then as I kind of like disinfect the trees, I'm making progress toward solving this mystery.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
And healing the planet.
Exactly. Oh my God, it's an eco-friendly game. And this is kind of our riff on the idea of a wall jump in the game. You don't really
Wow.
wall jump, you like make
Wow.
ladders.
That was so cool.
And then it also goes both ways, so you also dent out on the side, and now you have this little thing to climb.
Shit, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I would have figured that out. That's so cool.
You would have done it, it's okay.
I
I believe in you.
That's really awesome.
How much time do you think a player is going to spend with this game? Is it kind of a contained experience, or is it something you might go back to for a long time? What do you think?
So the core gameplay experience is about 3 or 4 hours to play it through the whole game. But we're quite excited to see people starting to like speedrun the game because, like you mentioned, there's a lot of like varying solutions to solving puzzles. So we really think there's a lot of room for optimizing how quickly you can get through stuff. And we've had some speedrunners literally come to us in shows and hog a station and just sit there for like an hour and like break the game and show us glitches. And it was like
Really?
this weirdly positive experience where they were just showing us broken parts of the game, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That'll be a good glitch in the speedrun or something, and it was really cool. So the core experience is 3 or 4 hours, but I think it's really interesting to replay the game and see how much faster you can get through stuff.
And this game has multiple worlds, is that right?
It does, yeah. There's 3 worlds in the game. This is the first world, the beautiful pink and purple world, and then there's a second lovely green swampy world, and there's a very snowy mountainy world. And each of those worlds has a unique art style, color palette and setting, and also has an interesting mechanic. So the first world is all about the deforming terrain. The second world introduces these beams that stop the player from resetting puzzles and also like make sort of like trampoline things. It's really fun. And then the third world, you actually start to realize you start to see the harder the infection of the crystalline material. So there's all these really hard platforms. And obviously if you're a soft character and you dash into a hard platform, you're going to change shape. So then the character started to change shape as well, and you're doing all these puzzles with both the character changing shape and the world changing shape. It's great, super fun.
That's so metaphorical.
It
If
is.
you're too soft and you throw yourself into
Exactly.
something too hard, I'm getting feels already.
I know, it's a very deep game for something this abstract.
Yeah, and you mentioned a lot about this color palette and the
Yeah.
art style and everything. Can you tell us a little bit about the art and how it was developed?
So originally this was a university project, and the guy making it was the co-founder and programmer was trying to make games that were set in like Rothko paintings, and he wanted to make this character sort of change shape and you know, like change the paintings as well. So the art style was very, you know, abstract. And then we kind of we were 2 programmers making this game, so we did a lot of really juicy programmer art. Like the character and all the platforms are rendered with code. They're animated and rendered with maths, basically, and they still look pretty fun. So when we actually had an artist on the project, there was a lot of stuff that was so complicated that we couldn't really go for a more complicated art style. So we just lent into a very minimalist, abstract aesthetic. And then in terms of colors, we really wanted to make stuff that stood out. So we really, literally went and looked at Steam and like thought what color palette might stand out here, and the one we basically settled on was pink and purple because there's not a lot of games that have that color palette. So it really pops when you look at it in a sea of screenshots.
It's very twitchy as well.
It is, yeah. That's why we're here. Yeah.
Of course.
And you said this started out as a student project.
Yeah.
Do you know about how big the team is that ended up finishing this game?
Yeah, so it was about 5 people full-time and a couple people part-time over the course of like 18 months. And the whole team is based in South Africa, and one Zimbabwean and 1 Kenyan, so it's a very pan-African development team, which is quite cool.
Yeah, you don't really hear of any South African game developers, and that's fantastic to get some diversity in the scene here. I think you've definitely come up with something unique. And I wanted to mention, too, the music has a very African flair to it.
Yeah, it does, and I think that was kind of important for us. Like, it's kind of hard to make necessarily African or South African themed works and sell them to the West. So you have to kind of be clever about the way you make cultural references. So we make something that's very accessible, like pretty much everywhere. But you know, things like the trees are inspired by African foliage and plants, and also Samurai Jack. People have told us.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And the music as well just has, you know, a lot of drums and music from Africa. It's kind of just inspired, and it's very subtle, but just those little cultural references, you know, help you see yourself in the game, even when it's not necessarily this like very heavily themed game set in, you know, your country. So
Now tell us, because we started out by saying, this is the first platformer
Yeah.
you're ever going to play. We've talked a lot about kind of the emotional aspect of this, the cultural aspect of the game.
Yeah.
What do you hope that players will notice and take away from this game after playing it, whether that be kind of the emotional experience or even from the standpoint of someone who loves games?
Yeah. Wow, that's a big question. I think, I love. So I think about postmodernism a lot in art. Like I really love a lot of we're in a very postmodern age where we're remaking comic book movies and stuff like that. And I really want to see more postmodern games in a way. Like this game is really referencing the genre of platforming itself. Like we literally take puzzles and gameplay from other platformers and say, how would this work if the platforms could change, right? So I'd love to see more like self-referential games happening. So that is just the major mechanical thing. I think narratively, or emotionally, we just want to have this like very soothing, calming aesthetic. And it's like a shortish game, and we want to just make a place that's calming and soothing for someone. And it's really nice to see people play the game and sort of be relaxed, even though they're like kind of struggling sometimes with solving the puzzle. It's like, it's cool. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, where can people go to find out more? When can they get their hands on the game? All of that.
Cool. So it's coming out on PC and Nintendo Switch this year, very soon. No release date yet, but they can go to semblance-game.com to find out more, and also the Semblance store page is live, so people can wishlist it already.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you so much for all of your time. This has been fantastic. Thanks, Kira. And thank you for tuning in. Lucky you, there's a whole lot more coming, so stay tuned to E3 on Twitch.
That Semblance seems really interesting. A puzzle platformer sounds fun. I think I'm interested in picking it up. I'm really liking how many Switch games we're getting this year. And back to the tactical games, we're also getting a lot of those, and I'm liking that a lot as well. I love my Switch. I love tactical games. So having lots of both is good. And now that I think about it, also bad because I don't have the money for all that. But I'll figure something out later. But yeah. I'm looking forward to a lot of this stuff. Are they back, or is it another... It's another ad. Rivas, the game in the bottom left is Pixel Piracy. It's this little game where you are a pirate. You usually start off with maybe one crew member, and then you sail and slowly build your crew, taking on tougher and tougher challenges and enemies until you've got an ultimate goal of defeating you've got an ultimate goal of defeating four whatever you call them. I think they're called pirate lords, in order to become the pirate king. I'm still a long ways away from there, I'm pretty sure. But I enjoy it. It's a simple game. It's got its flaws. It's got its good parts. It seems to still be in development. I think it's been officially released, but they're still working on it and doing stuff. I almost turned it up for another one of these. I want this game so bad! Ugh.
It's out now on PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
I love Zoo Tycoon, and I have heard that the Jurassic World Evolution game is basically Zoo Tycoon. We need a new one.
Game, record, and stream without compromise. Only on Intel Core i7.
Still going.
And we're back. We told you don't go away, and if you didn't, congratulations, you won. We got a treat for you. Adrian, Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Adrian.
Aw, it's tradition. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves, please.
Well, I'm Brian Fargo, leader in exile of In Exile Entertainment.
Nice.
And I'm David Rogers, creative director of The Bard's Tale 4, Barrows Deep.
That's the most important part of this segment because it's not Bard's Tale 1, 2, 3, it's 4.
It's 4.
People don't know. Why 4? What is 4? What happened?
4 picks up 150 years after the events of Bard's Tale 3, where Lagoth Xanta leveled Skara Brae. And so a new evil force has risen, and it's up to you to seek out a band of adventurers, customize your party, and save the world.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny you mentioned 150 years because it's been about that in real life time since the last Bard's Tale. So tell us a little bit about, this was originally a game that was popular years and years ago. Amazing community rallied around it, kickstarted this project, and now you guys are here today with what looks like a beautiful, complete, gorgeously rendered, and fully lored out game.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Right. Well, I hate to follow David with my answers because he's so animated. I mean,
you're gonna need to do them the same way.
I'm like straight laced, you know. But no, I mean, so The Bard's Tale was my first #1 hit I ever had in the industry back in 1985, and then it was a huge trilogy. It was a huge success. And it wasn't until now that I could do a 4th one and bring one on. So the fans have been wanting an official Bard's Tale dungeon crawl like this game for, you know, well, decades, really. And so we're really taking the fan base, we know what they want, and sort of melding it with modern gameplay features that modern gamers expect. So that's what the Bard's Tale 4 is about.
I think that's a differentiator too, because when I think of role-playing games, this is a different type of role-playing game. This is like role-playing, OG style of role-playing game.
Yeah.
So for those who aren't familiar with that style, maybe they're used to turn-based stuff, which it is still, but your classical JRPGs like that, what is the differentiator?
So in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Western JRPG. So you get to manage an entire party, which means if you like character customization and character progression, you don't just have one character to manage, you get to manage the entire party. And it's not just about finding those cool combos on your fighter or your practitioner, it's about finding those combos inside your party. Can I have a rogue that throws caltrops, and then can I have a wizard that can levitate them onto them, and then when they're rooted, can I have a warrior with a giant pickaxe to do lumbering strike? And it's about finding all those little combos and like breaking the game and feeling really clever.
Yeah, when people ask us, you know, what are the 3 most important parts about making this kind of game? The answer is combat, combat, and combat.
That's
right?
the 3 Cs.
That is the core loop. That is what you're doing, and it has to be fun as hell and visually a big payoff, and that's what we're focusing on with the Bard's Tale.
Yeah, right off the bat, I get that with this UI. I love the way that you see your team here, that you interact with them, and it really makes you feel like a leader and like part of them almost instantly. And you really are going to fall in love with these characters. And you talked about like the combinations, how we're going to want to try and put them together. And it's a little like vague to just say like how many combinations are there. But can you give me like anecdotally some of like the wilder combinations that you built up for these parties?
Sure. Well, to give you an idea of like the scope of like the ways you can customize your party. So you can have up to 6 adventurers in your party. But the first leg of your journey is you recruiting those adventurers and having them join your team. There's 4 archetypes, each with about 60 skills each, usually about 4 to 6 subclasses built within, and you can take multiple subclasses, so there's hundreds if not thousands of valid combos you can have. The math is
beautiful.
The math just works out very quickly. Like you could build your entire team of like your D&D party of all dwarven fighters, or you can like mix and match and try and find all those combos between the archetypes.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm still replaying the Slender. I'm still like seeing this in my head. I love it.
The other thing we try to really focus on is accessibility. Like everybody loves that depth, but you don't want to be hit on the head with it right away. Right. So when you start off, you don't even create a character. You're in the world, you're absorbing it, you're listening to music, you're talking to people, and then after you kind of get a feel for it, then it says, okay, would you like to swap out the character you have and create a new one, or go with the one that you've got? And you've got that. Some people will keep it, some people will roll one up, and then you meet another one, and another one, and another one. So when you get to the complexity that David was just talking about, it comes in naturally and organically, and it's easy for people. So you're not overwhelmed with it in the beginning, but it's deep when you get into it.
And those characters you meet, we really took a lot of effort to really flesh them out. As you explore the world, the different characters will chime in and have conversations with one another about what they're seeing, or talk about the history of like, Green Lady, tell me where you're from. And they'll have these conversations and really try and bring the world to life and like bring their own perspective to the story that's going on around you.
I saw that happening earlier when they were talking about singing a song to kind of lighten the mood of heading into a dungeon that was sure to kill everyone involved.
Right.
And her song was actually about that.
Right.
And then went into battle to drink to actually get some status boost in LA.
Yeah, precisely.
Which was fantastic to see.
Yeah, we weave that like sort of lighthearted. The game is severe and serious. There's stakes in the story, but it's very lighthearted. It's sort of like playing Dungeons and Dragons with your friends. Like you are saving the world, but you're with your friends and you're having a good time while you're at it.
Well,
take a break.
You mentioned hiding bits of lore around, and Adrian, she sang the song about going into the dungeon.
Right.
We were talking to you a little bit about the music and the effort that you put into it. Can you talk to me about like who you assembled, how you built the music, and then what is important to pay attention to with the music?
I've been involved with a lot of soundtracks in my years. I mean, I had the Fallout series. That was one of my one of my games. And that was great music too, but I have to say the soundtrack for this game. So we're working with Jed Grimes, he's in Simple Minds, and he's in Scotland, and we've got the top Galaxy singers in the world all working on this. So if you've seen the movie Brave, we have some of the singers from that, the top fiddle players, the top, the Bogdan, what is it, what's the drum called?
The Bodhran.
The Bodhran, right? the top Bodhran players in the world. I mean, so really the soundtrack's spectacular, and it's always weaving in and out as you move through the world. You'll just also, the fiddle will come on, and then you'll come around the corner, someone will be singing just beautifully, and then you'll move around another corner, somebody else. So the music's a big part of the experience.
Somebody plays saxophone.
You don't have to tip in this one. No.
I'm like top Bodhran player in the world. Like whoever that is existing. Like man, wish I had some.
It sounds like a bullet point on the box, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. The most big point you had, we were talking back in the other room, how you said in the original Bard's Tale, that was one of the original features, is that you have music and movement, and that's where the name came from, how important music was to the game.
That's right.
And to see you continue it in this game.
Yeah. That's right, yeah. Music, I mean, a bard, obviously, with music. But yeah,
Sure.
the original game series was that on the old Apple II, you couldn't, if you played music, because the processor could do one thing at a time, and that was all you could do. They found a way to play music and move, and then that was like, hey, we can move through a dungeon while playing music. That's spectacular. And that was the big technological breakthrough, and that's why it was a bard.
And we're also innovating in other ways. Up on the screen, you can see our puzzle weapon. This is one of the ways you can advance your party. And so it's not just your characters that you're customizing and making stronger, but you find these weapons in the world. And it's like sort of like The Room. You get to like zoom in, rotate, inspect these puzzles. You're looking for secret compartments. And here you can flow energy from one end of this grip to the other by rotating the pieces. And when you finally solve the puzzle, you unlock a boon, like lighting someone on fire or driving them insane, stuff like that. And so there's little secrets hidden even in the weapons.
What? And so like, okay, if I forget about this and I don't even, like, I get my weapon and I'm just going into battle, I'm still gonna be able to use it,
It'll be
right?
a good weapon.
But then one day I'm gonna be like, hey, what is all, and then
Right,
amazing.
precisely.
Imbued with power that you didn't know you had.
We bake in lore. We send you on pilgrimages around the world to different elven altars. Like the weapons will ask you to like steal the blood of an enemy, and you have to go seek them out, or you might have to, solve mazes or look for secret compartments.
I was gonna ask about puzzles too.
Oh yeah, so the world is just filled with little oddities and puzzles and lore and riddles. Again, like just something that gives flavor. Like as you're going through, you'll find magic mouths, and they're like sentient stone structures and dungeons, and they'll give you riddles that will help you along your journey. Or you have to appease elder gods at offering altars and solve the riddle to know what to put in this altar to open the door, or open this secret, or unlock this chest.
And I don't add also, but although there are a lot of riddles, we don't make you get stuck in the game. Right. So those certain riddles you kind of get through, but other ones are like if you solve them, you get some big benefit. But we don't want to hold you up where you can't move forward. So we have a nice combination of the difficulty of the puzzle really determines what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that sounds so much fun. So the more time you really start put into puzzling through things, the bigger the reward.
Right. We like every player as they go through the game, they're gonna find different secrets than their friend, because they're just sort of baked in, and some of them are subtle and some of them are hurt. Sometimes you just walk past them and give up, or sometimes you will solve it no matter how long it takes.
And is everyone's game the same? Is anything procedurally generated? So like when I discover something about my weapons, I can go on the forums, talk to somebody else who has a similar weapon?
Right, and so the experience is definitely handcrafted. We put a lot of effort in making sure everything is tuned and precise and feels really good the first, second, and third time you play through. But the party customization is so rich, it's really a different experience each time you go at it.
Yeah, I think the more likelihood is you can't possibly see everything that's there, right? As opposed to needing to randomly generate more.
Right.
That's fantastic.
So for wanting to do that, how long would you say a first playthrough would go?
We have this horrible problem that we think our games are going to be a certain amount of time and they end up being twice as long as we thought.
That's a great problem. I hate when I get more games with my money.
We constantly make that error, but it feels like it's a 30 to 35 hour game right now. We actually told our backers we thought it'd be 25, but that's starting to feel like no. So it could be even longer, but I'd safely say 30 to 35.
well.
Yeah.
Well, I love the party customization here. I'm seeing a lot of familiar fantasy tropes. Any classes or races or types of monsters that you've introduced purely from your own imaginations?
Well, we pulled a lot of stuff from Celtic lore,
Yeah.
and so you'll find we reimagine things like the Fashawn, which is like this weird one-armed, one-legged, one-eyed. If you look in old Celtic
Just
lore,
one everything.
it looks like a guy that just got cut down the middle really
Yeah.
clumsily,
So
but we've
original love.
reimagined them into their own little unique beast that you saw at the top of the video. And then we also try and just pull little bits of Celtic mythology and Celtic culture into the game wherever we possibly can to really make Scarborough feel like a fully realized
Yeah,
place.
we did a full research trip to Scotland and just specifically
Wow,
to
must've
the
been rough.
Orkney Islands to do research on their folklore to bring it into the game.
Yeah, the creatures, the environment, it feels
Yeah.
similar for tabletop gaming fans, D&D fans, things like that, but it
Mm.
also has this totally rich, separate world that you guys have created that's based on this mythology. So thank you.
People are going to want this right away. So tell us, when can we get it? Where can we get it?
Well, you can pre-order it now on bardstale.com, and it's coming out this year.
This year?
Yeah.
I've been hearing a lot of that. I've been hearing a lot of 2019, so that's good news.
Very nice
Thank
news.
you very much, gentlemen. It's been an absolute
Good.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Looking
Thank you.
forward to
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen at
Thank
home,
you. Thank you
know
for
what
bringing
to
us
do,
the
right?
game.
Thank you.
Follow the instructions, go to the website, pre-order, and also pre-order some seats to sit down and wait for more E3 here on Twitch. Stick around.
Bard's Tale, yeah, they haven't shown many races. I mean, they talked about them, but they didn't actually show many. Which is kind of like... At least I didn't notice many actual races in there. But coming up next, we've got the King's Bird. What is that? A momentum-based platformer that will give you flow, flight, and freedom. Oh. Interesting. Well, we will see what it is in more detail in a moment. As for Bard's Tale, it's one that I wouldn't mind playing. It's just one of those... I swear I keep saying this, but I'm in a position where I have to pick and choose, and it's not making the cut for me. Just leveling up my guys on Pixel Piracy right now. I really do enjoy this game. It's a simple game, nice to relax with. I got some new books. Yeah, I guess I should give him that. I'm gonna replace this guy's shovel with something else. We are back.
Hello and welcome back to E3 on Twitch. I'm Anna Prosser Robinson, joined by my co-host Kelly Link as usual, and we're here with our friends Z and Maddie to talk to us about the King's Bird, which I've been very excited about. Aesthetically, it's one that has been super interesting and attractive to me, so I can't wait to find out more. If people haven't heard of the King's Bird, though, what is it?
Yeah, The King's Bird is a momentum-based platformer game inspired a lot by games like Dust Force and Journey. You know, games like Super Meat Boy and Dust Force it really inspire players to play through a level and then feel better about themselves and maybe find ways to even improve on their scores after they're done. We decided to take inspiration from that and create a momentum platformer where, at a glance, the game looks like it's something that anyone can pick up and play. But once you start playing and you start witnessing this really meaningful story, you start to develop this passion for, hey, maybe I can cut a couple seconds off of each of these levels.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack there in terms of the mechanics and the story. I want to get to all of it, but when I look at this, it looks to me like something that might be fairly challenging. So can you tell us what a momentum-based platformer means, what the main mechanics are that someone's going to have to try to accomplish here?
Yeah, one of the main things that we really focused on is that the game's the 3 core values are the freedom, flight, and flow of motion. So when you go through the game, you realize that even when you die, for example, right there, you don't actually feel very punished about it, and you just kind of continue going forward. It's also like the freedom of flight is a main thing for us as well. Having that strong momentum-based core engine that we built, whenever you have a flight like that, it's always going to be continuing forward, and it depends on kind of what momentum you built up before and all that.
Is there anything in the game that can change your momentum and how it affects the game?
Yeah, so there are multiple different things. One of the main core design pillars we wanted to implement is that we wanted to make it something more like Mario and less like Metroid, I guess. So throughout the game, you actually do not receive new powers. The idea is that the mechanics are so complex that the first level of Mario compared to the last level of Mario, as a player, you're going to feel differently because of how much better you're getting. So throughout the game, you'll be noticing different types of challenges that before you thought were impossible, but now because you're doing so much better, you can achieve them.
Awesome. Is the game very linear in that way? Are we going to be taken through, or could we choose our own path? How does that work?
Yeah, so the level design itself is very much linear. However, there will be a very, I guess, a minimal and also kind of abstract overarching story that will tell you a little bit more about the universe you're in, the world you're in, and the characters that you're interacting with. And in that regard, there will be some different challenges that you'll see throughout the different worlds and choosing kind of which paths you want to go with the different levels.
We've seen a lot of environmental hazards so far. Will we also encounter enemies?
So enemies are actually pretty later on in the game. There are certain, I guess, boss fights is the best way to look at it. We made this game with the focus of platforming, not so much combat.
Right.
So one of the things that I can say right now is that you'll never really be fighting in this game, no matter what you do. So it's mostly just kind of movement and understanding the world.
Of course, the world is beautiful. It's very geometric and almost Mayan-esque. Can you tell me a little bit about that direction?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first started the game, as an indie team, we had to think about what are the lowest cost, art styles that we can possibly do with, a small team like ours working on this. And one of the things that we decided to look into was a combination of Mayan, Southeast and Southeast Asian architecture. So there's a lot of Myanmar, a lot of like Native American kind of themes. And each of the different worlds, there are 3 different major worlds in this game. For example, the first one that you saw was a forest kingdom that had kind of crumbled and was taken over by nature.
For
this
the
one
end
now
of the
we're
world
in
spell,
a water kingdom
press
that's
Control,
very much inspired by
delete.
Spanish architecture as well.
I love that you can tell that there's more to the buildings by like having them be like a few shades lighter than the foreground. So it isn't just this flat surface that you're seeing, it's actually a full building that's been kind of like cut through. That's really cool. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, one of the kind of tricky things that we had to play around with was actually just that kind of 3D feel. We wanted the game to live in 2 dimension, but at the same time make it feel like there's just a whole vast world behind you, that you're exploring. The main thing here, has to do with transparency. So something, if you notice, is you don't see any transparent layers throughout the game, and that actually made art really difficult because it's hard to kind of create details sometimes.
So I kind of want to dive into what we've hinted at with the story because we're, of course, curious who is the king? Why are we the king's bird? Are we looking for the king's bird? Tell us a little bit about the story.
Yeah, so I can tell you a little bit about the beginning of the story very easily since that's kind of how the game starts. You play as a girl named Quill who is trapped in this kingdom ruled by a tyrant. This tyrant is kind of like the king in this regard. He has a very strong obsession about keeping people in his kingdom kind of trapped. So he built this cage out of this mystical, this white kind of glowy power that you see here. So this cage was built by this king, and he kind of keeps all of the citizens trapped in there. So eventually you find the ability to kind of escape from this kingdom and go out there and kind of explore in all these different areas. Over the different areas, you'll be able to see how the world has changed outside and is very different from the kind of country you grew up in. However, as time goes on, you are looking for ways to kind of create the same kind of freedom for other people. So Quill finds the ability to take down that barrier to free all of the citizens in the kingdom. The problem is that as soon as she takes down the barrier, she realizes that there's actually a reason why that barrier was erected in the first place. So the entire premise of the story is that we want to explore the duality, the nature between chaos and order and tyranny and freedom.
Oh, wow.
That's really cool. What an ambitious approach.
Yeah. And I'm curious, tell us about her flight. How can she fly? What is the kind of white power that goes behind her, this glowy thing?
Yeah, this is kind of the inspiration behind Journey. Yeah, this level is actually, so we kind of jump really quickly into later parts of the game. This is about 2/3 of the way into the game at this point in terms of difficulty. Anyway, so the white glow is actually very much inspired by the scarf in something like
cool.
Where you have a certain amount of limited power for flight, but there's actually a lot of aerial canceling as well. So it's not very noticeable, but whenever you touch any platform, either a ceiling or a floor or a wall, you will reset your power so that you can keep on flying. And this flight, you see how she ran out of flight there just now.
Yeah, but I love it. You get up high and then you go all the way down, so you build up that momentum. Like you said, this is a momentum-based game. The light posts and the glowing signals or sigils that we're seeing. Can you tell me about those?
Yeah, so the light posts are just checkpoints. They're actually pretty straightforward. When we first started the game, we wanted this game to be so non-intrusive that we actually didn't have those light posts, and eventually we realized that just through playtesting that people want to know where they're supposed to go. I guess in a way it was also kind of inspired by one of our favorite games, The Beginner's Guide, with the light post, being kind of the end to everything. Yeah, but with that said, the sigils that you're seeing they're actually not final art at this stage. They are just kind of some collectibles that people can kind of go for, especially for hardcore gamers who want to get every single collectible and get the highest score that they possibly could.
Well, speaking of
levels.
The hardcore gamers and the secrets, are there little things hidden that you can't really see unless you explore it a little bit?
So we do have a few. We're planning for a few sigils here and there that are just a little bit too hidden for a casual gamer to find. But the game in its nature is not necessarily an exploration type game. It's a little bit more focused on honing your craft and exploring a narrative. So yeah, I mean, we're not gonna have too much of it. It's more of a bonus for those who are really patient.
Speaking of hardcore gamers, I look at something like this and I imagine that a speedrunner would be really interested in a game like this. Did you consider that in the development, or have you heard any interest from people who love speedrunning?
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely a lot of Dust Force fans would tell us that this is something that they want to play. We are planning to add the system of online replay and online high scores,
cool.
So you can see how other people did, just like what Dust Force did, because that's the reason why we ended up spending so much time ourselves playing games like those.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. Yep. And what are some of the things that a gamer should be really good at if they want to be really good at this game? What are they going to really hone as they learn this movement?
So I guess one of the things is, when you think about any kind of precision platformer, it's all about response time, reaction speed. If you think about Super Meat Boy, for example, you have your projectiles coming at you. You have to respond as quickly as possible. One of the unique things about this game is that everything is 100% static, which with the art style and kind of the freedom of motion, you don't really notice it as much.
Yeah.
But everything in the game is actually already predetermined. So with that said, everything, it's almost like playing a piano compared to playing a game in a lot of ways where, you know exactly what you should be doing, and it's all about just kind of perfecting that craft.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, we're here on Twitch, so there are going to be a lot of streamers who might be interested in playing this game. Any tips for them about, showing this off to their audience or doing this kind of as entertainment as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that you could really get the audience involved, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to be competing with each other regarding kind of what high scores you have, whether or not you found all the collectibles, and what are some optimal routes. I mean, for this level, for example, there's like even in our office, everyone plays it differently. So it's just going to be one of those things that's going to generate conversation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It looks gorgeous, and I'm super excited to learn where we can keep up with it, where we can look forward to seeing the game as it comes out. Where can people find more?
Yeah, so the game is currently on Steam wishlist. It's not out yet, so you can wishlist the game on Steam. And we're planning on releasing the game this summer.
This summer? Great. And where can people follow along? Do you have, social media or forums or anywhere that they should go check out?
Yeah, absolutely. So the game is developed by Serenity Forge, so you can go ahead and find our Twitter just at Serenity Forge. And it's also published by Graffiti Games, so that's just at Graffiti Games, I believe.
Awesome.
Yeah, as well. Yep.
Beautiful work. Thank you so much for playing. Thank you guys so much for coming and chatting with us. Do go ahead and check this out on your Steam wish list, and don't go anywhere because we have lots more coming your way from E3 on Twitch.
I honestly missed all of that entire
Jurassic
thing.
World Evolution.
I don't even know what game that was. I did get the bot back up and running though, so that's good. Apparently the authorization expired on it, I guess. I don't know why, but it did. Either way, I suppose I could bring back another one of the houses. So I don't know what's coming up next. We will see in a moment, I hope. After all of these freaking ads! Honestly, the ads wouldn't bother me as much if there was more variety. My problem is seeing the same ad 300 times. That is when I get annoyed. And that is why I'm annoyed now. So, yeah. So next up we've got, I'm guessing, Double Cross. Yes. Oh, the King's Bird. That's what the last game was. I like the flow of movement on it. I prefer more slow, methodical things, but I do like the design, and it looks nice for the King's Bird. Just not my cup of tea. I might have to increase the hours required for these various ranks on here.
Welcome back to E3, everyone. I'm joined once again by DJ Tech Live Dream Team right here. Give me bam. And
You
in the
didn't
middle of
explode
us.
it,
Oh, I didn't explode.
No,
Do it again.
redo.
Oh,
There
wow,
we
I was bigger
go.
that time. For my handle of it. Sorry, I had to see it.
It's all
Big
good.
knuckles.
Alex, you are the creative director of Double Cross, which we're about to dive right into
Yes,
today.
I am.
But before we get into the gameplay, which you are going to be so generously playing and
Yeah.
talking, tell us a little bit about Double Cross in the universe.
Sure, yeah. So Double Cross is a kind of interesting mix of action platformer and like LucasArts style mystery adventure.
Oh.
Basically, you play as a agent called Zara Sinclair. She's an agent of Rift, who are the regulators of interdimensional frontiers and technology.
Checks out.
They're like interdimensional police. They keep the peace between dimensions, order, investigate interdimensional crimes. But at the beginning of the game, someone has attacked Rift. So you're kind of tasked with going to different dimensions, collecting clues, and figuring out what happened.
Awesome. This sounds like a really fun, and when you guys see it, you're going to see a bright and exciting game to play. I'm really interested, especially in the investigation part of it. Can we hop into the gameplay?
Yeah,
Cool,
yeah.
let's
So,
get in there. So
here
what am
we
I going
are.
to be investigating here? Because this is like, it looks like a 2D kind of side scroller, but there's so much depth to the background.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of those two main genres there. This is the Rift headquarters here. So this is where you kind of end up in between missions. And you talk to a lot of NPCs and agents. This is where the adventure part of the game happens. So this is one of the Rift agents here. His name is Dr. Sam Squatch. And
fits.
yeah, he's kind of head of science and research. He's a Sasquatch, which are actually some of the earliest interdimensional travelers.
I've heard that about
Well, that's why
them.
we've only
That's
ever
the
found their
current
footprints.
theory.
And that's all they leave behind is footprints, and we've never found them is because they're in and out of portals. But we're going to talk to an agent over here. This
Whoa.
is
I love him already.
Hello.
this is Sergeant Sprout Ironbulk. He's head of training. And we're going to just chat with him for a bit. So in kind of like classic adventure game fashion, you can walk around and talk to these people, and you're going to learn all sorts of new things. So this guy's got a secret that he's going to tell us. He's kind of embarrassed. He's lifted too much. He's too swole. And he actually can't go back to his office. He wants to help out with this investigation, but there's nothing he can do. So, maybe Zara can do something about it. So this is really important because, you kind of keep that in the back of your mind. And if you check out the case log here, we can thumb over to all the profiles of all the agents at Rift. And you'll notice that it actually says Sprout has confessed that he's grown too big and can no longer fit through doors and exit the gym. So
you give a purpose of talking to NPCs.
yeah. And Zara she jots everything down in her case log here, so you can always reference it. So we're gonna keep that in mind as we head into a mission here.
And thank you for that case log, because so many times I play a lot of games, and sometimes if I put one down, I play something else, and I want to come back to it, I don't remember what the heck I was doing.
I've got a terrible memory, so that's exactly
Well, thanks
why
for
we did
designing a
this.
game for us.
You're welcome. So there's three main dimensions that we're investigating related to this case, and we're going to head into one called Gootopia. They're all alternate realities of Earth. So this is an Earth where animal life didn't really evolve past the goopy amoeba stage.
Well, actually, while we're headed in here, tell me a little bit about the option, because it looks like you can choose where in the game you want to go, when, where you want to explore.
You can actually, so the 9 main missions can be completed in any order, which is pretty neat. And so there's each dimension has 3 main missions, and then if you kind of complete the investigation for that world, you can actually fight the boss or locate and interrogate the boss, but they don't leave without a fight. Spoilers.
So is there any point where you go and complete a mission and then you have to go back and revisit?
So what happens is you'll find clues in each mission, and you're going to use those when you head back to the Rift headquarters. But you'll also notice, and you'll see it in a bit here, there's collectibles. There's a lot of collectibles in every stage, and those are what you use to kind of level up and upgrade your character. But so you'll see I can kind of like run around, jump. I've got a bunch of different attacks. The most important tool that Zara has at her disposal is this thing called the Proton Slinger.
I was just about to hit that.
Yeah, so if
That's awesome.
I hold down the trigger here, you'll see I can kind of aim this cursor around. It slows down time, so even in midair I can aim it, take my time. And if I head over to this anchor-looking thing, you'll notice it's lit up. There's an arrow on it, so if I go ahead and target that, it'll actually just launch me. So this is one of the most important kind of traversal mechanics here. I'm gonna beat that guy up. But it's also not just used for traversal. It's used in a lot of different and cool ways.
You can use it on enemies.
The fighting here is so satisfying too. I mean, it's such a small thing, but how tactile everything feels when you're smacking them there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also a big fan of beat 'em ups. So it's something that I think is important.
Oh.
So you can see we can actually slow down time, grab this out of the air, throw it back at an enemy.
Bam.
Cool.
Fling up here, bam. And it's one of those things where this mechanic takes a little getting used to because you have full control of where you can aim and full control of how you exit these hooks. So if I jump up high, it's going to shoot me down. If I'm below it, it'll shoot me up. It's full control.
Get out of the you're freaking me out, guys.
There we go.
That's some stressful stuff right there.
Are you smoking on upgrades? So in what way can we upgrade? You upgrade your proton slinger or your character in general, or both?
You can upgrade a lot of different things. So this thing here, this is called Upgradium. And you collect this.
And what does Upgradium do, Alex?
I have no idea.
Make it upgrades for 300.
Basically, if you collect enough Upgradium, at the end of a level, you'll kind of catalog it and you'll use it to level up your character. And that allows you to, perfect timing, look at that, access these terminals. So these are your checkpoints in the game. You get into one, and you have your permanent upgrades, which, like, as you level up, you're just going to get new attacks, more health, stuff like that.
And these are things, are you going to be choosing them with how to spend your Upgradium, or is it all in a tree that you're going to
Yeah, it
access
kind of
in order?
unlocks in a tree. But these equipables are where things get pretty interesting. So I can equip, for example, a double jump. And
oh, so you have different loadouts as well.
yeah, and now I've got a double jump. So, but I can also equip, like double speed, or I can increase the amount that I heal, or I can get a hover jump. So we'll just stick to the double jump for now. But the idea behind this upgrade system is that we're doing a cross between adventure games and action games, and those are like two pretty distinct genres. So if someone really loves adventure games but they're not super great at action games, then they should like equip some of those pieces of equipment that will let them have an easier time.
Instead of having like difficulty sliders, you have, you can
Precisely,
play this way or play that way, and one's gonna be a little more successful than the other.
Yeah, and if you're like really hardcore speedrunner, or you just think you're all that, you can double your damage, but you die in one hit, or you can double your speed, or all sorts of crazy stuff. So really, we just want players to be able to customize the character to their liking. How do they like to play platformers? Because there's so many different platformers, and they all control differently, so you can kind of fit Zara to suit your needs.
Adventure games played a really huge part of my childhood. One thing I liked about most adventure games is the fact that you could beat the story, you can go back with the power-ups that you already have. Is that a thing, or?
Yeah, so like, basically, because you can play things in any order, and it's almost, do you think
You'll get it.
This game? No, I'm out of here. This one's too hard. But what that is that's a kind of like a secret bonus room where you can get more Upgradium. So this level, it's a little more, like the enemies here are pretty easy to get through. It's one of the easier levels, and it's got a little more exploration, but other stages have, they might just be filled with combat or really fast-paced or filled with puzzles. There's a lot of variety. There's even one level that takes place in an arcade and a robot arcade in a robot dimension, as you do. And you just have to play through mini games. There's a lot of variety. But yeah, part of like deciding the optimal path to get through the game is deciding, what upgrades do I want where.
Well, you also mentioned that investigation is going to be part of progressing the story here. Can we see you investigating some things perhaps?
I'm gonna get once I get to
no
this area.
pressure in the middle of the level.
No. But I'm coming up on a clue pretty close here, and so basically, when I get a clue, and then when I beat the level, I can go back to Rift, and it's up to me to figure out where's the best place to use that clue. Who should I talk to? Ooh. Oh no, I got squirrely.
Get him. No, fight your way out. You got it.
Okay, so you notice how, as I've been beating these enemies, I'm collecting those kind of orbs of energy.
Yeah.
So the bar in the top left, under my health bar, it's been filling up those energy meters, and I can actually use those to heal myself.
Oh.
Or I can spend them to send out some pretty powerful attacks.
I was just about to ask if she only, did hand-to-hand combat.
She's got a couple tricks up her sleeve.
Got a couple moves in there. And that how we spent the energy that we collected over the course of the level, is that going to be something that we can change and reassign as well?
Yeah, so like there for example, there's an upgrade you can get that, you'll get more health out of 1 bar of meter than you would normally, or you can reduce the cost of an attack or things like that. They become really useful in like boss battles and things like that. Let's get up here. Okay, so
I
here's
love
a
how
clue.
the doors work, and I love how the goo works. I'm sorry, I just had to shout out the goo mechanic. It's so
Good,
fun.
I love that.
So are there checkpoints?
Yeah. So
throughout the map?
those terminals where I've been accessing my upgrades are also checkpoints.
Okay.
And yeah, so we found a clue here. This is my kind of field agent guide, Skip, and he's gonna let me know what's going on. So it's called Dice Zelinsky Oozide.
Sounds evil.
Yeah, and it's basically, if you rub it up against something, it can temporarily reduce its size. Now, do you guys know anyone who that might help back at Rift?
I do know a guy, and in fact, I cannot wait to continue this journey as the game comes out. I don't want to give too many spoilers away here as we head back and save our Planty friend. But for people who want to play this game, get their hands on it, when's it coming out and what consoles?
So it'll be coming out later this year, Q3, and we're gonna launch on Switch and PC at the same time.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so glad to hear it.
Yeah.
It looks like a really fun game.
Yeah.
I'm sure streamers are going to have a great time with it on Twitch, and I'm going to give it a little try myself. So thanks, guys. I'm doing all my shopping here at E3. I hope you're making your list because we got more games coming. See you soon.
Incendiary out.
Did I seriously get that dude in smoke?
Yo.
Game, record, and stream without compromise. Only on Intel Core i7.
So it seems like the last one seems like a interesting little game. I'm not sure. I mean, he said there were like 4 main challenges. Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about a game that seems that short. At least it just sounds like a short game to me. I'm not sure if the game, it might be longer. Might have enough side quests to make it worthwhile.
PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
By the way, a tip to anybody that does decide to pick up and play Pixel Piracy. Definitely teach your pirates to swim. It's got a bit of a problem with them. Instead of grappling onto the ship, they just kind of fall off into the water. That's why I've got a ton of swimming books. Just kind of saved up here. So, next up, if they show us, well, back to Pixel Piracy, I guess. Where's, there we go. Yeah. Really is just the same commercials over and over and over.
Everyone is talking about the biggest event of all time. Gather your companions for over 500 episodes of space operatic history. Starring... Who are you? I'm the Doctor. Doctor Who? Don't you recognize me? The time-traveling, shape-shifting fugitive alien from that one crazy planet with the blue police box. Oh, that Doctor Who. Yes, indeed. Watch classic Doctor Who on Twitch.
And apparently my captain is broken. So, next up we got Joggernauts. Oh no. Is it going to be a return to Paperboy? Or Paper Route, whatever it was from the Super Nintendo, I think? I don't know how to fix this. I think I'm gonna have to just reload to the last save. It does autosave rather often, at least.
Welcome back, friends, to E3 on Twitch. I'm Anna Prosser Robinson, thrilled to be here with you, along with my co-host Ezekiel III. But both of us may need to change our name to Alex in order to fit in, because we have Alex and Alex here to talk to us about Joggernauts. We are all Alex today. Thank you guys for being here. And actually, you brought us the game to play, which is huge because we haven't gotten to actually play any video games this whole time that we've been talking about video games. So give us the rundown. What are we going to play?
So we're going to be playing Joggernauts today. It comes from a great development studio called Space Maze. They're based out of Minneapolis. Zach, Tommy, Rob, they've been doing an amazing job with this game. So it's a 2 to 4 player local co-op multiplayer game. It runs, and basically the gist of it is you want to match the color of your character with who's in front. So you're switching to the front of the line to match red with red, blue with blue. If you don't, you lose a life.
Okay.
I love this.
So you
fast-paced
actually
party
have to
game.
do teamwork.
And we actually have to like focus and pay attention.
It's like kind of brain twisty. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's just jump into the game. Let's see how it looks right now. I think our game is ready. There we go. And we've all picked our characters.
I'm the fish head.
And we only have 2 buttons here. So we just need to use...
There we go.
And the way it works is you just switch to the front. There's no switching back, just switching to the front. So you have to be very careful when you're playing with friends to know where they are, especially when you're jumping in the air. You can hit obstacles.
All right, green. There we
So
go.
green, you gotta switch to the front. All right, all right.
Nicely done.
This kind of tutorial.
Now it's purple.
That's me. I'm Twitch Purple.
And so if you're in the front of the line, you can tell that if you try to hit it, the arrow will appear, and it won't let you actually switch at all. With these orbs, you want to collect them, but it doesn't matter if someone else touches them. And in every level, there's 2 trophies that you want to collect, and they'll take you to a special trophy bonus level, which is very tough, where you're constantly switching between.
Cooperative.
And then, so this is our first premiere of the caterpillar level, which we like to call wagglers. Oh wait, that was my fault.
Oh, this one's gonna be quick.
And so the story of the game is that you have crash landed due to an accident, and you got to collect all your coach's trophies. The way it is, you're in these little worlds that are orbiting around. There's 3 different worlds, and in each one there's going to be 8 levels with some bonus levels in addition.
Okay. That voice is awesome.
It does take a lot of focus.
Oh God.
Come on, blue.
That was my fault. That was 100% my fault.
And that's the problem is once it's one issue happens, ultimately everyone else starts failing too because you need that color right away.
A lot of screaming.
Yeah, a lot of screaming colors.
I did see
people.
even on Steam your guys'
Oh, that was
video.
my bad. I was too slow. Too slow.
Good job.
Oh, purple.
Purple.
Green.
And so one thing with this game is it's all about color, but so to counteract color blindness, all the different characters, the obstacles are square, triangle, whatever shape to help people who with color blindness.
Oh, nice.
So you see there's triangles, squares, circles.
Wow, you're
kind of botched
super
that.
fast at times.
Yeah, exactly.
What are these little keys?
And so the keys are a way to unlock a trophy. That's something that'll appear in certain levels.
That was my bad. I'm sorry.
That's one difficult thing about the game is that you'll see your color coming up and you will, try to press it before it actually appears.
Blue. Purple.
Ah!
Me.
I was too slow.
I love the little voices too.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the decision to include the auditory cues.
Oh, I jumped right over.
It's just a way to help people, especially with color blindness is another aspect. With the monsters, other monsters will have 1 eye or 2 eyes to help with that regard. It's just, it's fun too because you're already shouting out the colors anyways. Oh.
We made a mess of that one.
Man, that was terrible. That was some Bush League play.
So I can actually skip to another type of level if you guys would like.
I feel like we're not ready for this.
We did this isn't
team
the
building
tutorial level.
exercises.
Look, we just found out.
Purple, green, blue, pink.
Pink.
Good
Damn
leadership.
it!
Okay,
Good leadership.
okay, no, we got this. We got this. Purple.
I did it. I pressed the button. Not fast enough. Green.
Apparently not.
Oh, we gotta switch places to
Pink.
get the. Okay.
Pink.
Got it. I'm on it.
Blue.
Pink.
We
I'm
got
back.
this.
I'm back. Blue.
There we go.
Ooh, that felt good.
We did it. We did it. We
That
did
felt
it.
really
We
good.
just had to focus. We had to rally.
That's the thing in this game. You really need to focus and pay attention and
And scream at
and
each
scream
other.
at each other.
I like
This seems like a game that might.
What?
You didn't
Green.
jump. You got to jump
What?
because of the ledges. So that's you got to pay.
Yeah.
So we like to say this game is not throw your controller difficult. It's more pay attention difficult because if you're not paying attention, you're gonna crash into stuff.
Okay, okay. I need to jump earlier is my problem here.
Trophy. Go! I had the trophy. All right. Get in front, purple.
So my character, the green
Green.
character, is actually one of our artists, Tommy. It's his cat. He put both of his cats, Midnight and Star.
That's awesome.
Oh,
That was my bad. I was looking at something else, and I'm stupid. And I suck so bad.
so sometimes
I switched him and I screwed him because he was trying
exactly.
to get. Yeah,
So you
okay.
need to always work with your partners, and
Okay.
it's difficult. It's a very difficult thing to do.
Oops. I was focused on jumping. I didn't get
Green.
in front.
Blue, blue, blue.
He's only got one
Jump, get the.
heart.
Oh, I didn't jump. I'm the worst.
Okay, we got this, team. We got this.
All
I'm
right.
gonna focus.
Pink
We're gonna
up.
get in front.
Oh,
Nope, nope.
purple up.
We don't got it. We don't got it at all.
Oh god, this really fell
This is-
apart.
this is
Okay, no,
going
no, we
very
can
poorly.
salvage. We can salvage. Okay,
I jumped.
pink, pink.
It's so dumb. All right. I'm gonna. You gotta pay attention to the jumping too.
Yeah, that's like. There's several layers of.
Oh no!
Of
I got
mastery.
switched
So
from where I was.
a tip is to jump when you're on the ground, so that someone's not in the air when you're switching with them. I actually want to move on to a level we've never.
Let's move on,
I want to
please.
show you guys a level we've never. We haven't shown before. So this is our third world. This is the first time we're showing it.
Ooh,
So
premiere.
This has a bunch of gravity problems and then switches you need to hit.
Bye.
Oh, goodbye.
See you at the bottom there, buds.
Goodbye.
Look at that jump.
So is it always 4-player co-op or?
It's 2 to 4 players.
Okay.
And only local co-op. It'll be launching this summer. You can wish list it on Steam right now.
Whipped it.
That disappointed sigh.
Yeah, it's just you think that with a game that only has 2 working buttons, that
It would be
a
easier.
lot easier to manage it.
I keep getting seduced by that little
Seduced
yes,
by
because
it.
I know I can't jump in time,
you
but I
can tap
try
jump, too.
anyway.
Yeah, you can. So the longer you hold X to jump, or A to jump, the higher.
Screwed you,
bigger it
Blue,
is.
my bad.
You can just very tap it and.
Oh, whoa, I'm still alive. Nope.
Nope.
Oh no. Yeah,
Oh God, the floating
we gotta at
mechanics.
least get
We're on
past
the
that
moon,
point.
right?
Yeah. So actually, all 3 levels are different moons that are orbiting this gas planet, and that have different feels and kind of show different
I did
aspects
it.
of the platform.
I'm dead. I just wanted that trophy so bad. Okay, okay.
Blue.
I love the music too.
Yeah, so the music is great. Every level has a different soundtrack to. Oh, this is tough.
Green.
That was my fault. And I also killed someone.
Got it. Oh, come on now.
Oh, we were so
We got
close
this,
to getting
dude.
further than we were.
All right, time to focus. Dig down.
Deep.
Dig deep.
We got this. We got this. We got this. Is that purple?
I did it
Oops, that's
again, didn't I,
pink.
Blue?
I thought it was purple.
It hasn't been purple the last 12 times we've done this, Anna.
I was trying so hard.
That was, I pressed the wrong button. Of the 2 buttons, I picked wrong.
So yeah, it's a lot tougher. Like I
Bye.
said, when you have 2 players, it's much easier in that regard.
I did it. I did it. That one was purple.
I like
for real.
I like being able to scream at more people.
Yeah, exactly.
Tough, man.
Hey, we
okay,
did
we
it.
made it. We made it. Blue, purple.
But no one was up there.
Yeah, we're alive. That's what matters.
That is
Oh,
what
you had to
matters.
get up there to get the thing.
This is
Oh,
tough.
no.
what did I do?
No. Oh!
We didn't even
no.
get a checkpoint?
There's only one checkpoint per level.
Dude, this is brutal.
When we first started this, there were no checkpoints.
Wow.
It was really brutal.
Yeah, actually, you guys have been working on the game for a while.
Yeah.
And it's come a long way.
No, my God, we did it. Look at this. We're
Great,
killing it.
great.
We're crushing it.
Oh.
Whoa! Purple! Hold your head out. What are you doing?
Okay, we're fine. We just gotta make the jump.
Okay. Now what's this?
The jump timing.
You gotta. Oh, that's a
Don't
checkpoint.
switch. Nobody switch. So you gotta really like just barely tap that
Just
jump.
tap it.
Get
In
a
this
shorty
level,
jump.
yeah.
on
In
it,
other
yeah.
levels, you can. It's this doesn't have much gravity to it.
The gravity is a challenge.
I was a pooper. I pooped it. I pooped the bed on that one.
We all are pooping.
Green. All right.
We got
Now, that was
All right,
pathetic.
last
We're
try,
better
last
than
try,
this.
last try. We got this.
Focus.
And that's usually what happens in this game. You say last try, but it ends up being 5 more tries, 10 more tries.
Oh.
What? Excuse me. I cannot
focus
time
on
that
jumping.
jump for the life of me.
I'm getting up there.
All right.
Up we
Oh
go.
gosh, why did you
Somebody
do that?
help me! You gotta turn off the thing if I'm gonna do. Oh, I gotta get up.
Yeah, I think you're trying to sabotage us, aren't
You are trying to.
Okay, we could do this
Not
all
really.
day.
I
but
swear to God, I was trying to save myself, not kill everybody else. I was honestly worried about my own skin and nobody else's, and I'm sorry.
that was really, really fun. We had a
was
great time.
blast,
I
man.
feel
That was
like
great.
we spend a lot of time here on Twitch playing party games, especially. So thank you for bringing something for us to play and chill out with. Where can people learn more about the game, find the game, get their hands on it?
They can go to @SpaceMaceGames on the Twitter feed to check out from the developer, or you can go at @graffiti_games as a publisher, and we can have all the info there as well. Or
Awesome.
wishlist us on Steam.
Awesome. And do we have a release date yet?
It's gonna be this summer.
This summer. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you bringing us a game to play. We'll hopefully see you again soon. And we'll see you very soon because we're not going anywhere and neither are you. We'll be right back with more from E3 on Twitch.
That game would be perfect on the Switch. Why is it not coming to the Switch? Or at least they didn't say it was going to come to the Switch. Maybe it still will. I don't know. Next up, we've got Endless Mission, followed by Eline Media. That game looks fun. Though it seems to me that I guess they're getting a lot of people today that aren't directly involved with the games to talk about them. Maybe they're with the publishers of these games, whatever publisher it is, but I don't know. Either way, I am looking forward to finding out more about this Trove Bomber Royale. I kind of hate myself for doing so, but I am. As for Joggernauts, I'm gonna have fun with that with my family. If it does come to something other than Steam, you know, such as the Switch, where it would be perfect! Perfect! Anyways. We shall see about Endless Mission in just a moment. I'm sailing away. I don't know the rest of the song by heart, and I know that this is not the melody, and I'm probably upsetting people, but oh well. We are here just to turn in the bounty. You guys stay on board. Though I may pick up another crewmate. Woo! For pooping on the tavern floor. Okay. I shall find them and slay them for their hubris. Bart Frampton. He was a mage. Sure.
Welcome to the journey that is the Endless Mission. Thanks for stopping by.
Here we go.
This is all about. Set the clock for 60 seconds and here we go. In the Endless Mission, you play a character who's invited into a world within our own, where a conflict is unfolding between those who shape technology and those who are shaped by it. Meta? Meta. Follow a story that takes you through an ever-expanding classic set of game genres. Kart racing? Check. Platforming? Check. RTS? Check. More on the way like an FPS, soccer, footy for you international folks, and an RPG? Check, check, and check. Need more? Sure. Blend gameplay elements from all of them to mix and mash up your own games and share them with your friends. Want even more than that? If you insist. How about modding in real time to make games the likes of which the world has never seen? How far down does this rabbit hole go? You can even manipulate the code itself. I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of stuff. Don't worry, the devs are fine. Sorta.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you guys for sticking around and hanging out with us at E3 live on Twitch. I got Kira here. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
And we've got Brendan and Eric here from Eline Media, and we're going to talk about Endless Mission. Now, what a bold statement to make, right out the gate. It's like, guess what? We're going to change the game, literally all the way around. Tell us a little bit about Endless Mission, man.
Sure. So the Endless Mission, it's a creation sandbox game. As you saw in that teaser there, we have multiple different genres that you're going to be able to play through. But then we're allowing you to go and customize and create your own experiences. So I can take components from those different genres and create genre mashups. So, I mean, how many times have you said, I want to play Skyrim but with guns? I want to play a racing game but with soccer so I can make something like Rocket League. The Endless Mission is a game that's going to allow you to do that. Then there's increasingly powerful tools that will allow you to go even further into customization, or you can even make your own game genres from scratch.
So does this come with small games in it already?
Yes. So right now, what we're going to be playing in this demo is a version of a kart racer, a platformer, and a real-time strategy game. Throughout the life of the game, we're going to continually be releasing new genres that will contain content that people can play. And then each time we release a new genre, that has tools and capabilities that come with it to allow you to take pieces of that for your own creations.
This is incredible. I have 8-year-old nephews that are getting into coding, and they love video games. And I think that this would be amazing for them because you can literally manipulate anything in the game, right? Like
That's
you can change gravity, you can move characters around, and I think for them to be, to start with something like this and then be able to make it their own, I think that'd be really neat.
So, how? There's so many things that you can do. It's hard to ask questions about it.
There's so much to this.
Say I want to create a platformer. Do you give them a baseline, or do you start with just a blank screen, or how does it go?
So specifically, we try to avoid ever putting you in a blank canvas kind of slate. Because that's intimidating for a lot of people coming into game creation games. I don't see myself as a game creator. I don't see myself as a coder. If you just give them a blank tool set, they don't know where to begin.
Right.
So we want to provide you worlds, environments, characters to use as a jumping off point for creating your own content. So if you wanted to make a platformer, we have this platformer world and characters that you can start with, but then in our level editor, I can go and place new challenges within that world. I can borrow components from the other game genres, or even bring in my own content from the game. If I'm a 3D modeler, I can put my own 3D models into the Endless Mission as well for my own creations.
Well, you can put your own stuff in there?
Yes.
Dude, what? That is really amazing.
So then what about user-generated content? How does that work into this?
So this is a very community-centric game. In addition to me bringing in my own content into the game, I'm creating experiences that I share with the community. So we're going to have a content portal. Actually,
hey, MKV team, thanks for the follow.
Look to the left there, that's what we call our Hall of Celebrations. So everything that players are uploading can be downloaded by the community, remix and rematch as well. So when I download somebody else's game, I'm also getting the tools, the characters, the assets that they use to create the game.
Oh,
so I can borrow
wow.
those and now remix that and upload it to the content portal again. In that Hall of Celebration, we're going to be on a rotating sort of weekly basis, highlight the best of what the community has created. So there's always new stuff to play every time you come back to the terminal.
This is incredible, and I have to admit, it took me a while to just really wrap my head around this game. There's just so much to it, and there's so much to do. So finally sitting down with you and having you explain it to me, like, this is gold, because now I get it, and this is exciting, and I see so much potential here for people to get in there and really manipulate these things and remix, like you said, and make it their own.
Now, how would someone like submit like content for this? Like,
sure.
yeah.
So we're going to have a content portal that's built in the game. So
Okay.
when, say, I've done what Eric has done, and I've created this mashup game. So he's going to be playing a kart racer using the avatar from a platformer.
Okay.
We'll also show you the modding tools a bit, where we can change parameters of how that game behaves. So
Okay.
that's the first level of customization. I'm starting to make that game my own.
Okay.
Once I'm satisfied with the game that I've created using any level of the tools, I can then export that, package it up on our content portal. It's just a button that I press, and I say, okay, now I'm uploading this to the community. I take a few screenshots from within the game, and we'll have a tool that allows you to do that. Give it a description, and now it's on the content portal from within the Endless Mission that I can go and download somebody else's game and play it, or remix it if I like.
Okay. Is there like a way you can see like the most difficult, the most popular, the like that kind of stuff? Like,
sure. So on the content portal, we'll have a lot of sorting algorithms. You'll be able to see both how people have rated the game, how many people have downloaded the game. We're also very interested in allowing users to define metrics for their own game. So if I want to add a leaderboard to my game, I have the ability to add that, so you can track scores independent to the game that you created.
So what's going on right now is this was the racing game?
That's
and
right.
You put the fox in it?
Yeah.
And now he's cheating.
So for
He's trying to get to the end. That's what cheaters get. You don't cheat.
So that's one of the interesting, almost puzzle-like experiences coming in as a player. When I'm taking a character from a completely different game genre, like a platformer, how does he win a kart race?
By
so
cheating.
In this case, yeah, you're able to platform, you're able to take shortcuts you wouldn't be able to do as a kart. Now, if you really want to see some cheating, we can go into the modding tools.
I mean, this is really neat already.
And so this is a key differentiator for this game, because at any point in time while I'm playing any game, I can pause it, and now I have access to change parameters of how that game behaves. So I can do things like change my jump height, or I can manipulate the scale of my characters. Some of that is for sort of reshaping the game into my own. Some of it, we've had a lot of people like at PAX who have felt like this kind of feels like playing with cheat codes, or I'm designing my own cheat codes for the game. And especially for younger players, that's really attractive for them.
No.
So now you can see we've become Paper Mario.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that was a discovery that we made. Of course, as we've shown this game, a lot of people, when they get into the modding tools, are doing things that we as the developers never expected.
Of course.
So that we happened to put the scale that you could change it across one axis, not universally. Somebody was like, okay, I'm just going to make a really flat character. We're like, oh, that's somewhat unique. And then they wanted to go and make a puzzle game just on that experience. Like, oh, now I can fit into places I wasn't able to fit in before.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, all of the changes in modding you make just to the main character, like, and it affects collision and all that kind of stuff. Can a person, okay, let me just dream big here. You could make an entire full-length game within this game.
Yes.
Within this thing.
So this is all built on a game engine, and at the lowest level of the tool sets, the scripting and the level editor, you are getting access to the full game code. So you can absolutely create your own full game experience with this. In fact, we have a long-term ambition that you'd be able to export stuff that you made in this game into a game engine like Unity 3D, and then the assets would follow you. You could continue ripping off there, and then if you want to go and sell that game on Steam, that's great, because we have this objective. We want to inspire people to get into game development, to be willing to overcome that hurdle, and we see this as a great vehicle for doing so.
Well, that's really cool that you say that, because I'm curious. I know a ton of people like have made very successful games and possibly careers from things like RPG Maker, or even on a more base level like Mario Maker and stuff like that, like where you give them the tools and then go nuts. Wow, man. So when like, what's the upcoming for this? Like release date, all that kind of stuff?
So we're going to be on Steam Early Access in late fall.
Okay.
So we encourage people to go onto Steam, search for the Endless Mission, and you can wishlist us there. Throughout Steam Early Access, we'll be releasing new content. We're working on a soccer game as the fourth genre you'll be able to mash up now. And again, a kid wanted Rocket League. He's like, I have racing. If you just give me soccer, I can make Rocket League. We're like, all right. Our development team is sold. You can stop there. And with every new genre comes new tools. And we'll be really listening to the community as well. Sort of what genres would you like to see? What new tools can we add to make your life better?
Absolutely. Before we go, I just want to get a couple of sentences. Tell me just a little snippet about Eli Media.
Sure. So Eli Media, we're a game developer and a publisher. Ultimately, all of our games are through the lens of inspiring people to shape their world and understand their world. So through the Endless Mission, that is through the lens of code. And for a special reveal we have coming up, that's going to be through a very different lens.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for showing it off, man. I feel like such a bad interviewer because I'm like, you could do anything with this. It's too much stuff. It's too many possibilities. I love it. Thank you very much. Don't go away. I'm coming to you from Eli Studios. In fact, or Eli Media, excuse me. In fact, we got a reveal coming up, so stick around.
So that game, actually, come to think of it, I'm not sure if I'd consider that a game. Spider Island. Well, hi, Kitty. What's up? Anyway, that's what I was saying. Holy crap, that game just seems like so much. It's definitely does seem like something that would be rather intimidating to get into, honestly. It does have that vibe to it. As for my little adventures here on Pixel Piracy, I think I am going to prepare to abandon this ship. And by abandon, I mean replace it with a better one. Or different, at least. Just gotta get to a town, somewhere that I can move my pirates off the ship safely in order to basically take it down to almost nothing left. It's a little probably cheating trick I found. So, next up, we have Eli Media. Those were the publishers or developers of the Endless Mission, weren't they? So are we getting more info on Endless Mission, or are they just, I think we're getting more information about them, which I like. They seem like interesting developers, and I wouldn't mind more info on the game itself, that Endless Mission one. after this next interview, I will be stopping the stream to split the recording, just so you guys know, though.
Everyone, and welcome back to the final day of E3 on Twitch. I am Hello Kelly Link, joined by Kira Corellia, and we have Michael here. And I actually didn't learn too much about this segment before coming on here, so I want you to explain what you're doing here and what's going on.
Sure. So we're from the same studio from the prior segment, a company called E-Line Media. We're a developer and publisher of games that try to push beyond just fun gameplay and move people. We're trying to help people connect with the world. And really speak to the human condition. And so we're going to be announcing a new game today on your show.
That's awesome.
That we're super excited about.
And you previously made a game that I loved called Never Alone, which was this beautiful story about a young girl and this dog, like a wolf
Little
that she
fox,
meets.
yeah.
A little fox, that's
Yep.
what it was. I played this game with my husband, and I had so many feels the whole time we were playing it. It's beautiful, and it's a little haunting, and it's gorgeous, and I definitely recommend that one. And I love that for us today. Can you tell us just a little bit about the story of the game?
Sure. So thanks for that first. And I think with Never Alone, we started with a theme. We worked with an Alaska Native organization and didn't make a game about a community or culture. We really made a game with them. And it allowed us to take a story that had survived for thousands of years and I think respect it and make it an interesting way. After Never Alone, we got a lot of interesting calls from folks who said, can we make a game about our culture? Can we make a game about this part of the natural world? And it was humbling and really exciting. One of the most interesting calls we got was from BBC, who said, we're about to do another landmark nature series. In this case, it's Blue Planet 2, which has now been released.
I have seen.
And they said, we love the intersection that you had in Never Alone, where in the gameplay of Never Alone, as you progress through the game, you unlock these videos that provide background in terms of the decisions made in the game and give you an intimate connection to the 30 people from the community that were part of making the decisions in the game. They said, how would you like to follow our series and extend the themes of it with a fictional game that builds on the science that we expose and the nature that we expose,
That's crazy.
work collaboratively with us, and then have never seen before footage that doesn't get premiered in the series, premiere in your game as part of what will be called Ocean Insights in this particular game. So that was really the origin story for this game. And for the last 2 years, we've been working diligently to do research and to get to a point where we could get inside what it feels like to explore the ocean and to really choose a genre that we think can respect both the human element and the natural element of the game.
Of course. I mean, what an amazing opportunity to work with BBC on such a program like the Blue World, I believe?
Blue Planet 2,
Blue
yeah.
Planet 2,
Yeah.
right. My goodness. So what did you learn by getting to work with BBC with probably the most advanced technology that they have to record these kind of things?
So I think I'll say the starting point was BBC, but the real insights came from the scientists that
Right, of course.
are advising them and helping to get to what they think is going to be a renaissance in exploration. I mean, I think the thing that impressed me in my very first conversation were facts like more people have stepped on the moon than have been to the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
Or we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about our own ocean. And I think that with a set of emerging technology that's becoming available where we can really get deep, but in a non-intrusive way, in a way where we're not scaring all the creatures away or we're disrupting their behavior, and quite frankly, have cameras that see in the dark and microphones that allow us to record for hundreds of miles, there's going to be a renaissance of discovery there that I think speak to our own health and our own survival as a species. And so it was a very simple start to the process. We asked these scientists, if in 10 years you had your own moonshot, you could take this amazing technology you're telling us about, control it for a month or two, you're the director of that, how would you spend your time? What questions would you want to get answered? And why is it important? And how would you be changed and how would we be changed if we were on that mission with you?
Mhm.
And it was really the confluence of those stories that's coming together in the game.
Well, please tell us about the game. What's the title? What type of game is it for someone that's
Yeah.
never heard of it before?
So it's called Beyond Blue. So we can do a little homage to our friends at BBC. And it's a game set a little bit in the future. It's a narrative-driven game. So you'll play as a protagonist named Mirai. And in the game, the cycle is one of exploration and discovery. And so you're exploring the ocean both at, oh, there's Mirai. So there's our main character. So Mirai is special in two ways. One is that she's really trying to direct her passion for pushing the envelope of our knowledge. But she also is someone who believes strongly as a scientist that we need to do it in a non-intrusive way if we're really going to understand these creatures. And so she also is one who believes in the use of technology, but also thinks that as a person, we've got to be there as humans to witness this amazing stuff. And so we split your time in the game between exploring as Mirai as a diver, which is a third-person perspective in the game, and then when you can control a bunch of drones that have, or remote-operated vehicles, where allows you to be in multiple places at once. You also use your technology in also a light resource management way, and so you are improving your technology along the way, which allows you to focus your research on higher value observations. But you're also faced with having to make decisions where there's contention for resources. Something's happening over here that's super important to the narrative. Do I use my coolest drone over here? Or do I go over here and follow this? And how long will these conditions, how long will those whales be there? And so that's part of the decision making in the game. So a bunch of the game is spent in the water, exploring, but there's also thinking, not just feeling, as you play the game.
Is this set in a real area of an ocean?
Yeah, so everything in the game is based on the real world, and the only liberties we take are try to consolidate things to make it a little less grindy. So, as an example, this game will be set in the Pacific near China and the Philippines. So the South China Sea and the Philippines, which gives us a very diverse area and one where we can get to many features that are necessary to tell the story and to give you the range of exploration we want. Kind of shrink it.
Okay.
And so you kind of go in the right direction for the Mariana Trench, but we're not going to make you swim 700 miles.
But thank you.
You're welcome.
Sounds like a very large area still to explore. Is this then open world?
So it's an open world, but you open the world by investing in the deployment of your resources. So imagine starting in the game with a single tether that comes down from your vessel, which gives you a little space that you can safely explore. And then you're deploying communication equipment as a player that keeps expanding the world that you can explore. And as you do that, you decide, do I want to dedicate a drone to doing something here from an investigation perspective? So your world is opening, but it really is up to you what direction I go in. And the way that we give you clues in terms of where to expand is you can see a little bit outside the world that you're able to safely explore, not through your eyes, but through the senses that actually the creatures use, things like sound. Light doesn't go very far in the ocean, so you can't see very far, but it turns out you can hear for hundreds of miles. Whales can hear for 1,000 miles. And so you can hear things outside your sphere of exploration, which are giving you clues as to what direction you can go. We'll also give you other technology to give you senses beyond sight, things like echolocation that let you look at a distance and see mass, but not know exactly what it is. And so those will give you the clues on where to go.
Well, tell me about the progression of it. Obviously, you said you start with very little. Once you drop down into the ocean, you get more. Is it levels? Is it quest-based? Or is it purely exploration?
So it's a continuous time game, and it is a time-bounded expedition.
Oh.
And so every minute is an hour. So 24 minutes of play, 24 minutes tick away. Your missions are timed, but Mirai's energy level will deplete. And so when she dives, her energy goes down a little faster. When she's controlling drones from the safety of her sub, her energy lasts a little longer. It gives a player an opportunity to shift around where in the sort of day-night cycle and where in the lunar cycle they want to spend their time, which is really important in a natural world where creatures do much different things at night than they do during the day. And so you're watching the days tick on. You have a sense of how much time you have, and you have more than one quest. You have more than one thread of objectives that you're trying to progress. There's obviously clues from the narrative in terms of the main quest that you want to invest some time in, but we're trying to give folks some diversity of the more minor quests that each can contribute the additional equipment and resources that you would need upon completion to make progress on the main quest. But we use different styles. Maybe you earned a piece of equipment that can help you with the main quest by spending more time following a family of turtles and understanding their life cycle. Or maybe you went for a higher action event and you were really studying how different creatures combine and collaborate in hunting. and go after huge schools of fish to do their things. And we will get well beyond sort of the simple animal behavior that you've seen, and we're going to pose fairly complex questions like, what's the emotional life of whales? Do whales mourn? And so we're going for both one where you think about the science, but you also sense the soul of these creatures.
Michael, this is super cool. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but we do have a trailer
awesome.
for Into the Blue.
Beyond Blue.
Beyond Blue.
Great.
Michael from Eline Media, thank you so much for joining
Thanks
us.
for
And
your time.
to everyone, stay here right now because we're going to be checking out the trailer right now.
Okay, now that game looks beautiful. As I said earlier, I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream for just a moment to split the recordings and change the title and stuff. I will be right back. Don't go anywhere, please. Once the commercials are over, I will be right back, and we've got PES 2019 coming up next.